Welcome, everyone, to the Fandom Podcast Network special presentation of Time Warp, where we cover the movies and pop culture of an entire year. And this year's episodes of Time Warp, we're going to cover the 1990 year of pop culture, which includes the movies, TV, music, and notable news events. The 1990 movies, pop culture, and events are all celebrating their 35th anniversary. And we are going to be discussing March of 1990. So make sure you guys stay tuned here. This is Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback Show here on the Fandom Podcast Network. And by the way, you guys can also check out our new QR code here and go ahead and click on that. It'll take you to our website. Appreciate the support there. But let me go ahead and get my co-host for Time Warp here, guys. Let me go ahead and first of all bring in the queen of movie foo, Miss Lacey Adderhold. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to have you. Good to have you. Ready for some March Madness, as they say?
Yes. So much madness of March. Yes.
Well, let's also bring to the stage my co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, fellow nerd, Kyle Wagner. What's up, buddy?
Well, Kevin, you promised me in this podcast I could throw a house party where we do the forbidden dance, and it's full of blind fury and turtle power. So
I see what you did there. All right. Well, as Kyle, yeah, Lacey.
I'm sorry. How did you miss out on Pretty Women at the house party? Like, I'm just.
Well, it's a new era. I don't know if we should be talking about ladies of the night. I'm trying to be.
I mean, you could go the other way and call them nuns on the run.
That's true. That's true.
All right, we'll get to that, but we want to let you know what's happening and what's coming soon here to Time Warp on the Fandom Podcast Network. Of course, we recently have covered January of 1990, February, March, April's coming up soon, May and June, of course, and we'll have more throughout the year. And last year, we also did Time Warp for NFL Raider players who acted in movies and TV. Rest in peace, Carl Weathers. We also did a Buffy vampire TV series retrospective. And we also, last year, we did all the movies of 1984 as they were celebrating their 40th anniversary. So make sure you guys go check that out. There are some classics there. But we, of course, are discussing the movies of 1990 in March. March was a pretty good year for us. So let's go ahead and let's take a step back into time to 1990. Let's fuel up the DeLorean with that flux capacitor. Slingshot around the sun aboard that captured Klingon vertebrae. Take a step in that blue police box or phone booth. And you can also step in that quantum leap accelerator or take a dip in that hot tub time machine with the Chernobyl, of course, as we travel back to 1990, where we're going to remind you what was happening in pop culture, sports, politics, television, and, of course, the movies of 1990. All right, we have got some notable news here around the world. And Kyle, I'm going to need you to help remind me of the first news topic we have here, exactly why this happened. Steve Jackson Games is raided by the U.S. Secret Service, prompting the latter formation of the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Do you remember why Steve Jackson Games was raided?
If I remember correctly, there was some copyright issues involved. There was possibly, sending some programs out illegally.
Okay.
A few other things, and we're at a time right now where the technology is really kind of changing, and they weren't quite understanding everything that was going on.
I was wondering because the first Steve Jackson game I ever played was the card game Illuminati, which was a lot of fun. So I was wondering if it had something to do with other shenanigans like that. But yeah, there you go.
Who at that time, who knows?
Yeah. Well, speaking of games, March 8th, 1990, the Nintendo World Championships were held within the Fair Parks Automobile Building, kickstarting an almost year-long gaming competition across 29 American cities. And on March 13th, the Supreme Soviet of the Union approved changes to the Constitution of the Soviet Union to create a strong U.S.-style presidency. Mikhail Gorbachev is elected to a 5-year term as the first ever president of the Soviet Union on March 15th. And March 18th, 12 paintings and a Shang Dynasty vase, collectively worth $100 to $300 million, are stolen from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, Massachusetts, by two thieves posing as police officers. This is the largest art theft in U.S. history, and the paintings as of May 2024 have not been recovered. I feel like that's like a Pierce Brosnan movie going on right there.
Where's Rene Russo?
This is true.
To be fair, that was a remake.
Yeah, this is true. That's true. Yep. So let's talk about some 90s toys and tech. Of course, as the Joker says in the 89 Batman film, where does he get all those wonderful toys? I don't remember this at all, guys. The Beetlejuice toys. We had also the Beetlejuice Creepy Cruiser car. And if you're watching the YouTube video here, it's pretty darn cool. It looks like there's a Beetlejuice bike in there as well. Do you guys remember the Beetlejuice toy at all? I don't.
Oh, yeah. From the cartoon.
Yeah, that's where I was going to say that they came from the cartoon, but I don't remember them that much.
Yeah, I think they're kind of hard to find now, don't you think?
I didn't have them, but I know I do remember them, and I remember the ads for them. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, next we have, and this is a fun one here, and so we have the Neo Geo system. Introductory price is US is $649.99 home console there, and then we also have the larger version in the arcade, which is the more current version that you see there to the right. And I think I remember this console. It's Japanese. Neo Geo is a ROM cartridge-based video game system released on April 26, 1990 by Japanese game system SNK. 8-bit Z28 coprocessor. I don't really remember this very well. And then, of course, the Neo Geo MSC coin-operated arcade offers owners the ability to put up to 6 different cartridges into a single cabinet. Kyle, do you remember this?
I remember the console very briefly. It really didn't have a long run. It's actually very popular over in Japan. But I want to talk about this, the game, the arcade thing, because Kevin, I don't know about you, but it always kind of felt like a little bit of cheat that when an arcade had a Neo Geo in it, because they loaded it with 18,000 different games, and it was like they just were limiting. It was just like, okay, we can't afford all these cabinets, so we're just going to get a Neo Geo and load it up.
Yeah, but you had more games to play though, right? I mean,
yeah. It's something I would rather have at home than I would like when I walk into an arcade.
It's true. Yeah. So, we also like to tease some products that came out in 1990, and the Tropical Fantasy drinks, glass bottle ones with the yellow tops. Tropical Fantasy is an inexpensive soft drink originally from Brooklyn, New York. Its low price of 49 cents per 21-ounce bottle led to its success in the 1990s. Tropical Fantasy was initially popular in inner city areas. The company did not employ large marketing campaigns and used simple store displays and low cost to sell its drinks. This made the product most visible to consumers not living in areas where the beverages were sold. Tropical Fantasy is bottled by a small family-owned soft drink manufacturer called Brooklyn Bottling Group, which has bottled seltzer since 1936. In 1990, with its debut of the Tropical Fantasy line, the soft drinks became an overnight success, now bottles over $2 million each month in sales. I don't remember this drink at all, but it looks yummy. Look at the flavors there.
Yeah, I have no recollection of this at all.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I didn't think so either. Yeah. All right. Next, guys, we like to celebrate some celebrity birthdays, and we've got a few here this month. I don't know all of these, but let's see what you guys think. We got Andrea Brown, who is in Desperate Housewives. Matt Rogers. Danielle Samoas was an actor in Avatar Last Airbender and The Wizards of Waverly Place. Alec Medlock was in Drake and Josh. Emery Cohen was in Smash. Sebastian Jude was in Lizzie McGuire. Luke Terrestano, actor in Fudge. Keisha Castle Hughes. I remember her. Didn't she get nominated for an Oscar?
I think she actually won one.
Yeah, Australian actor. She was also
Whale or something like that was the movie.
The Whale Rider. Is that what it was?
The Whale Rider. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She was nominated.
Kiowa Gordon.
I think was that. I'm sorry. I think. No, maybe I'm getting the name wrong. I think I'm mixing her up with someone else. Never mind.
Yeah. Kiowa Gordon was also born in March of 1990. Carly Chaikin, Cassie Serbo, and Ali Gonino. So there you go in the Lion Game. All right. We don't have anyone in March to in memorandum, thank God, but we will have some next month. I'll tell you that right now.
The holiday.
There you go. Yes. All right. So we're going to celebrate our January music news. So the first music news that we have here, Geffen Records here. March 15th, MCA Inc. purchases Geffen Records for over $550 million in stock. Under the agreement, David Geffen will continue to run the record company through an employment contract. Next, we have here Red Hot Chili Peppers, guys. March 16th, Flea and Chad Smith of Red Hot Chili Peppers are arrested and charged for an incident 2 days earlier at the performance in Daytona Beach during MTV Spring Break coverage, in which they allegedly sexually assaulted and verbally abused a female audience member after jumping on stage. They are released on $2,000 bail. Was this when they were running around with just socks?
I don't know,
At least Flea was.
But I mean, if so, and again, I don't know anything about this, but who jumps on stage and then interacts with people and then sues them? I don't like that. Seems like I feel like there's got to be more to the story.
Yeah, they're pretty wild on stage back then. They like to play nude a lot. I remember I saw them at on Lollapalooza, and they just came out wearing their socks around there. You know what?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of like believing women. That's a thing. But like, just the way the tagline reads seems a little bit like necessary.
Well, next, I remember this. March 20th, Gloria Estefan's tour bus is involved in an accident. Estefan suffers several broken bones in her back.
I remember that very, very well. My dad was actually a huge Miami Sound Machine fan, and might have been crushing on Gloria just a little bit, but huge news.
Definitely. Next, we have in March, a riot almost breaks out in downtown Los Angeles when Depeche Mode draws a crowd of 20,000 during an in-store appearance, Warehouse Entertainment, to sign copies of their new album, Violator. Oh, I do remember that. And next we have Tommy Lee from Motley Crue is arrested for allegedly exposing his buttocks during a performance in Augusta, Georgia. That's par for the course. I mean, he would wear those assless chaps too.
I mean, that's just standard.
But you don't do that in Georgia, though, I guess.
Okay, you don't do it on the golf course in Augusta, Georgia, but like if you're in a concert venue, you know.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have March 28th, 1990. The Go-Go's reunite to play a benefit concert for the California Environmental Protection Act. They play several more reunion shows later in the year. That's right. I forgot they had broken up and then got back together in the 90s. So that was cool. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into some Billboard Top 100 hits, guys. As you know, we like to pull a few at a time. And this month, we have songs 84 down through 77, starting with Oh Girl by Paul Young at 84. Then we have Whip Appeal by Babyface. Then 82, we have I Go to Extremes by Billy Joel. 87, we got Everybody, Everybody by Black Box. At 80, we have Romeo by Dino. At 79 is All or Nothing by Milli Vanilli. 78 is Love Shack by the B-52s. And 77 is Just Like Jesse James, Cher. Lacey, do you remember any of these?
Okay. Oh Girl. Is that the one that's Oh Girl, Get Out of My Heart? Is that what that is?
I don't remember.
That's the only thing I don't know. I do remember Love Shack.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but that's literally the only one and I'm a huge Billy Joel fan. Yeah. Do not know that title. I will have to do some research later because that makes me sad. And now I want to go through all of my Billy Joel albums and see what I have missed.
That one's the one that sticks out to me is I Go to Extremes and then Love Shack too. I don't remember that Milli Vanilli song that well. I just remember the other ones that they had on that album. Kyle, what about you? What do you remember from these?
Love Shack. Love Shack was huge.
Yeah, it was.
Guys, huge. For me, I'm going to say it, and I'm proud of it. Just Like Jesse James by Cher. That is a great song.
I can't remember that song at all.
Oh, she is jamming on that song.
Okay, yeah, I got to look that up. I have no memory of that one at all. So, okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and get into some television shows, guys. All right, we're going to talk about 1990 TV news and debuts. And this was a sad one here, guys. I remember this one. March 4th on Sports Center broadcast the graphic footage of Loyola Marymount University basketball player Hank Gathers collapses and dies from a heart attack or heart condition during a West Coast Conference tournament game. The network at the game recorded advanced footage for the championship game. It was scheduled to televise the next night. The tournament final was ultimately canceled in wake of Gathers' death, and LMU was given the league's automatic bid to that year's NCAA tournament by virtue of regular season league championship. Kyle.
Okay, so I was actually, because of time, I was living in Alaska at the time, so because of the time difference, I remember SportsCenter breaking into this live when this happened, and just how crazy the whole thing was, and how tragic it was, because Gathers was actually on his way to the NBA. A lot of people had him as like a top 10 draft pick in the NBA. And what was so heartwarming about the story was Loyola Marymount was not that great of a basketball team, but they went on such a run in the NCAA college basketball tournament. They made it to the final 8, where they eventually lost to that great UNLV team that had like Larry Johnson, Stacey Osby.
Oh, yeah.
But the guy who came famous out was Hank Gathers' best friend, Bo Kimball. He actually went on to play in the NBA for several seasons, and he did a movie too. I believe the name of the movie was Heaven is a Playground, and he was in that. But that was one of those things that kind of just has always kind of stuck with me, especially as we're entering that time of year in college basketball right now.
Yeah, March Madness. Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah.
All right, next guys. I remember this very, very well. Oh yeah, Lacey.
I know that you know that I don't know anything about sports.
Yeah.
But I just always, every time there's an injury or any sort of anything like that, they always show the one photograph, which is like straight up the person's shorts. Dude, the man is literally dying in this photo, and they're like right up the shooting down the barrel. Like, why would you?
You can't really see anything there, but I see where you're getting at.
Always the same shot. It's that same angle every time.
Yeah,
and that's just
and the shorts were shorter back then too. I didn't notice that. So, all right, next, I remember this very well, guys. March 24th, the season-ending cliffhanger of Alf, Consider Me Gone, becomes an unintentional series finale when NBC gives Alien Productions a verbal commitment for a 5th season, but ultimately withdraws its support. ABC resolved the cliffhanger in February of 1996 with the TV movie Project Alf. I remember this. This pissed me off. I was wondering when we were ever going to see what the hell happened, Kyle.
Oh, yeah, I remember being incredibly irritated by this, and the sad part was that TV movie was not good. The Project Alf was not good.
Lacey.
I have never seen an episode of Alf.
Wow.
You kill me, Lacey.
Not because I avoided it, just because I for some reason, I just missed that one. It just wasn't playing in my house.
Oh man, he was so funny, chasing the cat around too. It was great. Yeah. Mel Mac, poor Mel Mac. All right. Gordon, what was his last name? Gordon what? Shumway. Gordon Shumway was Alf's real name, and then he was called Alf, of course, nickname for alien life form for obvious reasons. So there we go. All right, next, guys, in March debuts, we have some shows here. This one was called Help, H.E.L.P. on ABC, a combined emergency service of the FDNY, NYPD, and emergency medical services units in New York City called the Harlem East Side Life Saving Program, or HELP. Creators were David Black, Christopher Crowe, and Dick Wolf, starring John Mahoney, Tom Bresnahan, and David Caruso. I have no memory of this show at all. So there you go. The next one I do remember, because remember, Dweezil Zappa and his sister Moon Unit was a thing. March 21st, Normal Life came out, guys. Chronicles of the unconventional family life of a stay-at-home writer-father, his overly involved wife, and their 3 independent yet close children, inspired by the real-life Zappa family and rocker Frank Zappa. Of course, starring Dweezil Zappa, Moon Unit Zappa, Josh Williams, Cindy Williams, and Max Gale. Max Gale was part of Barney, right? Barney.
Barney Miller.
Barney Miller, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Lacey's like, I don't know. I do remember this show. I don't remember it well, but I do remember it being on because Dweezil Zappa was very influenced by Eddie Van Halen, and he could play a lot of Eddie Van Halen stuff. And I remember that he was a pretty decent guitar player too. So yeah,
He was a little bit of an underrated actor, I think, too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, next we have is a TV series called Sydney, starring Valerie Bertinelli. And I wanted to bring this to your attention, Lacey, because we did, of course, a couch potato theater of A Long Kiss Goodnight, and Craig Bierko was in this TV series.
Yeah,
starring Valerie, of course, Rebecca Bush,
Matthew
a young pre-Friends Matthew Perry, and Daniel Baldwin. Do you remember this show, Lacey?
I do not know this show, but I know that Valerie Bertinelli was also influenced by Van Halen.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I see what you did there.
If I remember correctly, this show actually got a lot of hype because it was her return to TV for the first time since One Day at a Time.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. And then she did that show later on where she did the cafe in Paris.
Yeah,
it didn't last very long. So yeah. Well, there was another show that was that came out too called The Outsiders, inspired, of course, by the '83 film. Followed up to the novel and film of the same name, focusing on a group of troubled teens in 1960s Oklahoma, starring David Arquette, Billy Bob Thornton, Boyd Kessner, Rodney Harvard, and J.R. Ferguson. I have no memory of this show. Sorry.
Big old zero.
Yeah.
I have a weird tangential statement about this.
Yes.
So, Outsiders, I watched a movie the other day called Mad Props. It's a documentary about people who collect movie props.
Oh, yeah?
One of the co-creators of the band, House of Pain, bought and restored and turned into a museum the original house from The Outsiders.
Really?
Yeah, and you can go there and pay a nominal fee and go and sit, and they have all pictures and stills from the movie. And they've recreated, they tried to get all the old, the furniture right and everything right. And that has nothing to do with the TV series. I don't have anything to say about the TV series.
Okay.
That just came to mind. And I love a good tangent. Yay. Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Next we have, and you might recognize this woman in red and the curly blonde hair. This is Equal Justice. It was on ABC, came out in late March. The professional and personal lives of Pittsburgh DA staff, led by Arnold Bach, Gene Rogan, Linda Bauer, Peter, and Michael James, alongside new attorneys Joanne, Briggs, Julie, and Christopher. Stars Jane Kaczmarek, Sarah Jessica Parker, Deborah Ferrantino, and George DeCenzo. So this is of course, Sex in the City with Sarah Jessica Parker. I don't remember this show at all either, guys.
Nope, sorry.
And that's Jane Kaczmarek. That's post The Heavenly Kid. Jane
Yeah,
Kaczmarek.
And then pre Malcolm in the Middle, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
There you go.
I don't know when Malcolm in the Middle was, but yeah.
Yeah, much later. Next, we have, inspired by the '87 film, I think it is, Baghdad Cafe. Stars Gene Stapleton and Whoopi Goldberg. Sitcom based on the '87 indie hit Baghdad Cafe follows two women, a dessert motel diner owner and her guest whose husbands just left them, as they slowly develop a rocky friendship. Several colorful characters live there as well, starring Whoopi Goldberg, Gene Stapleton, James Gammon, and Cleavon Little. Kyle.
Just one thing to say about the show, because I remember when this show came out. This was a matter of really bad timing with a name that was not real popular with U.S. residents at the time. This is a show that
the Gulf War was basically coming upon us now, right?
Oh yeah, we were going. So yeah. It did not do well because, in fact, if I remember correctly, it lasted 2 seasons, I think, and they actually changed the name of it for the second season.
Oh, weird.
This feels like a kind of a loose preface or precursor to Grace and Frankie.
Interesting. Okay. Next, we have Carol and Company. The funniest woman on TV just got funnier with a little help from her friend Bernadette Peters. Unlike Carol's other variety shows, this series was a comedy anthology. It featured one long show sketches, with each member of the company playing different characters each week with no running characters. Stars Carol Burnett, Nita Barone, Terry Kaiser, Richard Kine, Peter Krause. I don't remember this. I love Carol Burnett, but I don't remember this. Anyone? No?
Are we
Richard
talking about
Kind,
the
one of the
same-
greatest that guys for a very long time.
Who?
Richard Kind.
Yes.
Yeah, he actually has a stand-up show right now called How to Not Be Famous, and it's going to be in Atlanta in like a week and a half. Is this the same Peter Krause from
Peter Krause?
is it Kraus?
Krause.
Huh.
Yeah. And then Terry Kaiser, of course, more famously as Weekend at Bernie's Corpse. Yeah, so there you go.
Gotcha. Cool.
We also had some television ending this year as well, guys. Quite a bit as stuff starts to fall by the wayside. Eyes on the Prize, which started in 87. The Brady's didn't last very long, as we talked about it when it first started a couple of months ago. Freddy's Nightmare, Mama's Family, Island Sun, Scrabble, it did return. As we mentioned, Alf, The Babysitter's Club, and Think Fast all were canceled. So we're going to always talk about the top 30 TV shows throughout the year, and the ones that we're going to highlight this time are, the first one was Grand on NBC. It was ranked at number 25, and the series chronicles the going-ons of various people in a small Pennsylvania town, which is renowned for its piano company. Stars Pamela Reed, Bonnie Hunt, John Neville, Sarah Rue, and Michael McKean. Sarah Rue before her popular television series, and Michael McKean, of course, comedy legend as well. Love Bonnie Hunt as well. No memory of this. Anyone?
Nope.
All right. The next one we do, Kyle, we have to have a short conversation about this.
Mhm.
Head of the Class is the top, one of the top shows this year. Went from 1986 to 91. This was at number 26. Of course, this was the newer version of Head of the Class, where we had Billy Connolly taking over the Howard Hessman role. And for those of you that don't remember the plot, a laid-back teacher provides needed guidance about life for a special class of exceptional, gifted students. And of course, this is where we had Christine Hage, Dan Frischman, Dan Snyder, from that Dan Snyder, Robin Givens, Rain Pryor, and Ki-Hugh Kwan also was in this as well. But the big question I had for you, Kyle, is I remember I watched this show religiously, just as you and I did. However, when it came to Hessman leaving, I didn't really stay tuned to it much soon after that. Just didn't have the, I don't know, it lost something for me when Hessman left. And so I asked, why did Howard Hessman leave? Well, I found out. Howard Hessman left the show after the fourth season, as Hessman noted in the 89 interview. We're not doing the show that I was led to believe I do, and it's difficult to get off that. And I asked AI, I want to see what AI said, or Google, probably because he was unhappy with the direction of the show, particularly feeling his character, Charlie Moore, was not developing enough, and that the focus was shifting away from the teacher perspective, which was a key element of his role. He expressed these concerns in interviews during the show's run. Through the exact reasons for his departure were never officially stated. Kyle, I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Okay, well, first, I was a huge fan of the show. I really loved Howard Hessman. I stuck with it when Billy Connolly came along because I liked Billy Connolly, but it was not the same show. The crazy thing about the show is how many people actually had pretty good fame or careers out of the show. Obviously, Howard Hessman, but you had Brian Robbins, who's gone on to be a fantastic director and a really big power player in Hollywood. Obviously, Robin Givens as well. We won't talk about Dan Snyder, and unfortunately, because of things with Dan Snyder, it's really hard to find this show. It used to stream on HBO Max, and it doesn't anymore. You had Rain Pryor, you had Ki-Hugh Kwan, but this was just a great show, and I loved Hessman in it. I almost loved Hessman as much in this as I did as him as Johnny Fever in WKRP. But
yes,
it was just this was one of those shows that it started off, you weren't real sure what direction it was going to go, and it went very well. And I remember the first time they did a first cast turnover, I think it was like it was actually season 3 that they replaced some of the cast members, and in season 4, season 5, Billy Connolly came on, but one of the cast members, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, went on to do that show that was really popular on Fox for several years, New York Undercover.
Okay.
And so, but I mean, this show has a very interesting place in television and Hollywood history.
Lacey, what are your thoughts on Head of the Class?
I remember various random bits from episodes. I know that I saw the show. I mean, we saw it, every week, kind of a thing. I remember the Robin Givens I remember there being a disclaimer before one episode where she talks about how she was related to Thomas Jefferson and why. And I remember that being like, there was like a flashcard. It was the first time I'd ever seen like a warning before an episode of TV. I remember that, like,
it's kind of like a very special episode ahead of the class, but done their way, So,
exactly. It was, but it was, the whole concept of, they were talking about like genealogy and stuff, and
right.
The rich kid was upset because it turned out that his like great grandfather was like a horse thief or something, and it turned out that, it was this whole, there was but it was like a distinctive conversation about our forefathers.
Yeah. Good show, though. I like the concept, and I thought Howard was great in it. So, well, guys, let's go ahead and get into, this is Fandom Podcast Network, and we're talking about the movies of 1990. But let's go ahead and get into the movie segment here. We always like to talk about some of the celebrities that got their movie debuts, and in 1990, we had Peter Mullen in The Big Man, Guy Pearce in Heaven Tonight, and Luke Perry in Terminal Bliss. All right, let's go ahead and get into the movies, guys. This is March of 1990. And the first one that we're going to talk about is The Hunt for Red October. Made a little over $200 million in its original theatrical release. And in case you don't know the plot, November of 1984, a Soviet Union's best submarine captain violates orders and heads for the U.S. in a new undetectable sub. The American CIA and military must quickly determine, is he trying to defect or start a war? Directed, of course, by John McTiernan, based on Tom Clancy's book. Stars Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, Scott Glenn, Sam Neill, and James Earl Jones. Lacey, what you got there? What you holding up for us?
The 4K.
Nice.
Recently, the whole Jack Ryan series was released on 4K. This is really interesting.
Do you mean this one right here?
Yes. I got them individually because it is annoying, because I didn't know, now with the new series that is out, I wanted to be able to have like individual. I'm a weirdo. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I almost got that, but I like, you know what? This was my old version here, the 3 movie Tom Clancy one that has, of course, the Harrison Ford 2 movies, and then, of course, on the backside it shows the Sean Connery for The Hunt for Red October. But I'm going to retire this because I've got now 4K that has all the Jack Ryans, and it also came in 4K, Blu-ray, and digital. So good collection there. Kyle, hit us up with some trivia first, and then we'll give our thoughts on The Hunt for Red October.
Lacey had one quick thought she wanted to get in.
Oh yeah, sorry, Lacey.
It's all good. It's all good. Do the trivia first. It's fine.
Okay, that's fine. Some interesting trivia on this movie. Sir Sean Connery spent time underwater aboard the USS Puffer, preparing for his role. He was given commander status and allowed to give commands while underwater with the captain beside him, of course.
Can you imagine taking orders from Sean Connery? How cool is that?
Yeah, that is awesome. This movie also started the Tom Clancy Hollywood run that we've had going on forever now. But after the release of Tom Clancy's novel, The Hunt for Red October, some members of Congress contacted the CIA demanding to know why the Russians had invented a Caterpillar drive before the U.S. Navy did. Although a result of good research, the Caterpillar drive is pure fiction. I
don't believe it. I don't believe it. Lies.
I like this one too. During filming, several of the actors portraying USS Dallas crewmen took a cruise off the coast of San Diego on the USS Salt Lake, a real Los Angeles class submarine. To help Scott Glenn train for his role as the Dallas commander, the real commander of the Salt Lake City, Thomas Fargo, ordered his crew to treat Glenn as equal rank. First giving reports to Fargo, then gave the same report to Glenn. Glenn based his performance of Captain Bart Mancuso on Commander Fargo, giving orders in a calm, even voice, even in tense situations. Saying whatever good happened in the performance, basically, I owe now Admiral Fargo, thank you, sir. And Kevin, this last one is just for you because this is a classic for physical media. When the movie was first released on VHS in 1991, the tapes were red.
I got to find me a copy of that. I seem to remember that. I don't own a VHS copy of that, but that's cool. And in my opinion, I think Scott Glenn is one of the coolest characters in this movie. I love it. Lacey, give your thoughts on The Hunt for Red October.
Okay. So what you don't have on the 4K is on the Blu-ray, which is the commentary by, well, it might be on the Blu-ray, I don't know. John McTiernan's commentary is really interesting, and there's also a featurette interview with the cast called Beneath the Surface, where I think the most interesting thing to me, because it gave the information about Scott Glenn, it gave the information that we just read about or heard about Sean Connery, but this was, to the knowledge of everyone who was talking in this interview, including John McTiernan and Tom Clancy and all these other people, the first time a black man had been portrayed as an admiral in the Navy, or a general, James Earl Jones's rank.
Right.
And they both had very interesting things to say. James Earl Jones was like, this was, it was an amazing, role in my career and all this kind of stuff. And John McTiernan was like, I love the fact that we put a black man in charge. He told people what to do and nobody questioned it. And it's the first time that had happened. And this is 1990.
I hadn't realized that. He just fit that role so well. I didn't even think twice about that.
Yeah. And that's the good thing about it. Like nowadays we don't think twice about it because we want everyone to have a chance to be in high command and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a little piece of information.
If I haven't said it enough, Lacey, I really appreciate you listening to the audio commentaries and giving us these news bits. So thank you, because I know you spend a lot of time on that. So thank you. Kyle, your thoughts on The Hunt for Red October?
It's so interesting because you had the two submarine movies within that, not far here, of The Hunt for Red October and Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
This one, though, I mean, this is the start of the Tom Clancy in Hollywood. Jack Ryan is established here, who has become one of the most popular, probably in a way, maybe America's version of James Bond, even a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an amazing performance by Connery. I think Alec Baldwin still gets very underrated in this, and I'm with you, Kevin. Scott Glenn is amazing in this movie. I mean,
it's funny.
All-time classic.
When we were talking about the Abyss CPT, and I brought up this is one of my favorite, submersible type movies, underwater movies, and it might be my favorite submarine movie, but I got to go back and watch Crimson Tide again one more time, because obviously we lost Gene Hackman, and I want to see that role, and he was so good in that. So I'm going to hold off on that opinion, but as of now, this is my favorite submarine movie. Lacey, hold on, you're on mute.
Once again. Okay, one last thing. This is the youngest portrayal of Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin was 31 with this movie. The closest to it was Chris Pine, who was 32 or 33. And then with Ben Affleck, he was 38. And
what about Krasinski?
Krasinski was 39.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
And Harrison Ford was 48 and 52, I think. 48 and 51. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So real quick, I got to ask a question.
Yeah.
Who's everybody's favorite Jack Ryan?
I just went down the rabbit hole and watched all 5 movies this past week.
Harrison Ford is probably my favorite, but I got to give it to Krasinski. He did a great job.
Yeah.
He was a little more action oriented, but there's something about Baldwin in this. There's just something about him that I think this movie really launched him too. So yeah, definitely. So, all right, guys. Sorry.
No, well, I just was answering the question. I have not seen the TV show. As far as the films go, I think that after watching them all back to back, because it used to be Harrison Ford was my favorite. After watching them back to back, I think it's going to be Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. This is an interesting film here. I did not heard of this film before until I started doing the research for 1990. And I thought it was very interesting. It's called Last of the Finest. It only made about a little over 1,500,000 in its original theatrical run. Movie starring Brian Dennehy. The poster says 4 honest cops are getting too close to a crime they aren't supposed to solve. The last of the finest. It's time for heroes again. An elite group of vice cops are fired from the LAPD for being overzealous in their war against drugs. It is immediately apparent that some of their superiors are involved in a drug ring, banded together for the band cops, which quickly becomes 3 when one of them is killed early on. Band together to fight the drug ring undercover. They gain capital for the weapons by ripping off minor drug dealers, then well armed after they go after the kingpin. Directed by John McKenzie, stars Brian Dennehy, Joey Pants, Jeff Fahey, and Bill Paxton. Kyle, give us some trivia on this, please.
Yeah, I got a couple interesting ones here. The 1974 Jeep Wagoneer that Frank Daly, played by Brian Dennehy, drives has the license plate number of BDR 529, which is the same license plate number of the Bluesmobile from the movie The Blues Brothers.
Deep cut.
And now, Kevin, I need to ask you this because I was thinking about this when I was reading the notes, and this trivia kind of sums it up for me. Do you think Orion Films kind of tried to recapture the spirit of Canon Films at one point?
Yeah.
Because this was one of a dozen films released by Orion Pictures in 1990. Many fans of the film believe that due to the quality of the product running through the studio's pipeline, that this film was lost in the shuffle and was not properly marketed or advertised. There was a point where Orion Pictures was just dumping movies left and right. And yeah,
but it was one of those things where once you saw the Orion logo go across the scene, it was more than likely you were going to enjoy the film, you know? I picked it up on DVD here out of curiosity because I couldn't find it streaming anywhere. And I'm just going to say Bill Paxton was not in this movie enough. I'm just going to say that right there. Lacey, have you seen The Last of the Finest?
I have not. And because we had 15 or 20 movies to go through this time, I looked and I saw that I had like 13 of them. So there's 3 or 4 that I don't have, and I just didn't pick it up. But now I see that Joey Pants, that's where my nickname came from. It's a long story. And then Jeff Fahey, I worked with him on a film way back in the day. One of the nicest guys ever. We were about to hit penalties on getting out of a restaurant on time. And that man, who all the other actors went back to their trailers, he actually started picking up lights and like taking them to, like he was like, what can I do? What am I allowed to touch? Because, a lot of departments won't let you touch things, but he was like, what can I help carry? Like, and he was just the nicest guy ever. We'll always watch his film. So now I'm going to have to go back and watch that.
Kyle, have you seen this film? Do you remember it?
I have not actually seen this film, but it's got Paxton in it. So even if he's in it for just a little bit, and I like Brian Dennehy, so definitely something I've got.
I really liked the actors that were brought together for this film. They worked well. And I also like the fact that they were able to, basically steal from drug dealers and get their guns, and they were able to get money. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Good Guys version of Heat, because their wives knew what was going on. Their families were obviously being targeted as well, but they all kind of banded together, and they were all trying to make decisions about what to do with the money, and then of course the corrupt cops that were after them and stuff like that. And there was a really cool showdown later on, but I thought it was a really good film. Kind of one of those that just got lost in the radar. And I miss Brian Denny. I like everything that he is in. I just love him so much. I miss him. So yeah. All right. Next we have Bad Influence, made over $12 million in its initial theatrical run, starring Rob Lowe, James Spader. A soft and hesitant young man is in danger when he tries to break toxic relationships with a mysterious stranger claiming to be his friend. Directed by Curtis Hanson, of course, stars Rob Lowe, James Spader, Palmer Lee Todd. Lacey, you are holding up a physical media copy as well. Look at that. Do we have the same one?
Yeah. I think so.
I have not seen this movie in a long time, but I do remember seeing it in the theaters. Yeah.
Have you watched it recently?
Yes, I just watched it on DVD.
Okay. How are you on the opinion that it does not stand up?
Yeah. Let's talk about that in a second. Kyle, give us some trivia on Bad Influence.
Rob Lowe was in a weird place at this time for multiple reasons, and one of them was Rob Lowe researched his part by watching hours of footage of serial killer Ted Bundy. Yeah, okay then. And of course, this film kind of had poor timing too, because it garnered a lot of unwanted PR as it was released roughly around the same time that Rob Lowe's infamous sex tape came to light.
Yep.
And a lot of people turned down this movie, and I bet they're really glad they did, because some of the people who turned it down were Matthew Broderick, Tom Cruise, and Robert Downey Jr., who all turned down the part of Michael Bohl, which was eventually given to James Spader.
So I would have to, as you were touching on, Lacey, about how this movie doesn't hold up, and I want to get your opinion on why, and I can guess why. But is it the best way to describe? So just so you know, the Bad Influence is coming from Rob Lowe. He's playing the villain here, obviously.
Yep.
And so what I'm wondering is he a grifter? Because as you see from the beginning of the film, he's sleeping at some girl's place. He takes a bunch of his stuff, that was probably his identity or his personal stuff. And then he like just drops it in a trash truck as he's going on to whatever grifting thing he does. Is that a good way to put it?
Honestly, I thought that was a flash forward, and that was him doing something like halfway through the movie.
It was him moving on to the next thing.
Right, so, and that's why. Well, so it was a little bit confusing at first. I was like, "Was that a no? Wait, was that?" And then I remembered that the same year, I think, or maybe 1 year later, he was in the movie Masquerade, and I was mixing those up because there was like a murder and all these other things. I think that mainly the reason I think that he was a psychopath. I think that he used his abilities to convince people and to manipulate them for his own, because he's obviously having fun. I mean, he's doing this for fun. He is having fun
he's got a sixth sense of danger, and he's he's like getting Spader drunk and robbing liquor stores, and then of course trying to pin a murder on him and
beating
filming part of it.
Getting him drunk and putting a prostitute in his, all this kind of stuff, and then and then videotaping it and playing it at his fiance's parents' party. Like, what is happening? And the thing is, he's not sorry about it. Like, as James Spader walks in, he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but just know I'm doing this for your own good." And he's like, "What are you talking about? What?" Like, and then all of a sudden he realizes that they've got this sex tape going on in the other room, and he's like, "What?" And he jumps in the car and goes with him.
He has serial killer vibes in this. It's a very uncomfortable movie to watch.
But also, I mean, the way that that women are viewed and treated.
Yeah.
Not to mention the brother, who was such a good portrayal of someone who has like anxiety. And
you're talking about James Spader's brother, who helps him. Yeah.
Yes. And the thing is, that's dismissive of someone who has a disability. Like, there's a whole bunch of things in this movie that are not okay now, and you would
it's a tough watch. Kyle, do you remember this movie?
Unlike you guys, I haven't seen it recently, but I do remember watching it, and I honestly, I don't think I ever finished it because it was a tough watch even back then. And this is one of those movies that's just never is going to get lost in the ether because of the content of it. And I'm not gonna hold on to my DVD, to be honest with you.
The funny thing is,
move it along.
His character is so dismissive of human life that he's just playing a game with James Spader, and the murder of this woman who's completely innocent in all of it has nothing to do with her at all. He kills her just to get James Spader in trouble, which is like,
it's like a thrill kill for him, and I don't find that stuff entertaining. So from one hard to watch movie to another, guys, Handmaid's Tale. Natasha Richardson, Aidan Quinn, Faye Dunaway, and Robert Duvall as the commander made almost $5 million in its theatrical run. And of course, now we have a very popular TV series that's been going on, I think 6 seasons. Under dystopian religious tyranny, most women cannot conceive children. Those young women who can live in a form of sexual slavery to provide children for influential families. Director is Volker Schaldendorf. And writers are Margaret Atwood, Harold Pinter. Stars Natasha Richardson, Faye Dunaway, Aidan Quinn, and Robert Duvall. Kyle, give us some trivia on The Handmaid's Tale.
So, this is a Robert Duvall thing without question. While working on the film, Robert Duvall became so fascinated with Evangelion that it inspired him to write The Apostle, which came out in 1997.
Evangelism, okay.
The lead role of Kate was offered to Jodie Foster and Sigourney Weaver, the latter of whom had to drop out when she got pregnant. And Faye Dunaway originally quit the role of Serena Joy, the commander's wife, believing her character to be too weak, until she got a phone call from the source book's author, Margaret Atwood, and she changed her mind.
Oh, there you go. First of all, rest in peace, Natasha Richardson. We lost her too soon. I seen this once and will not watch it again. I did watch a TV series, but I have not finished it. My wife has, though, or at least I don't know if there's another season on. I don't know. But it's a tough watch, though, either way. Kyle, what is your thoughts on The Handmaid's Tale?
Very tough watch, and I think really the movie has been completely overshadowed by this TV series, because the TV series is something of a phenomenon.
It is. Yeah. Scary
so
too.
I really think, this is a movie that people from a certain time will remember it, but otherwise it's the TV series and it's just taken over its spot.
Lacey, have you seen the movie and or the TV series?
I have not. I've not seen the movie. I've not seen the TV series. I have not read the book. I know that women are named of something, which is the man's name. So Offred is her name. So it's of Fred. So they have no rights at all. And so I chose not to read or watch those. And let's face it, within the next 6 months, we could just be living that in real life in the United States. So I chose not to watch it this time either.
I don't blame you one bit. It's one I will not be returning to. So,
yeah.
Well, let's go into a movie that's a little bit more fun to watch. House Party, guys, made over $26 million in its original theatrical run. Lacey, hold up your copy there. Is that the original one? I got the 4-pack House Party. That's what I got here. But you got the single movie version there.
Yeah, I got the single movie. I had it a million years ago on VHS, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I don't have this anymore. And I looked it up and I was like, you know what? I will watch the first one again. I won't watch the second, third, fourth one. Like, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'll watch this one. I'm not going to watch the rest.
So this is
struggled to get through.
So this is, of course, Kid decides to go to his friend Play's house party, but neither of them can predict what's in store for them or what would be the wildest night of their lives. Of course, starring the famous Kid and Play rap group, directed by Reginald Hudlin. Stars, of course, Kid and Play, Christopher Reed, Robin Harris, Christopher Martin, Martin Lawrence, and Tisha Campbell. Kyle, give us some trivia on House Party.
But first, I must say, the roof is on fire.
We don't want no water. Let the water.
The old Arsenio Hall bit. We try to get.
I love that song.
Little trivia here. During the party at Play's house, all of the dance sequences were done with no music. AJ Johnson choreographed her and Tisha Campbell's routine for the battle. The toe touch and kicks were actually signature moves for Kid and Play. They had become very popular as backup dancers for Salt and Pepper, using these moves and more acrobatic stunts. The music was added after the dancing had been shot. The movie itself was filmed at Play's real-life home in Los Angeles, California. House Party was originally offered to DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, aka DJ Jazzy Jeff and Will Smith. This happened because New Line Cinema won a lawsuit against them due to their song A Nightmare on My Street, and one of the conditions were that they had to appear in a New Line film. Director Reginald Hudlin refused to cast them in the movie based on that term.
Oh, wow. There you go. So real quick, I just want to mention this. I hadn't seen this movie in a long time, and I think I saw 2. I have not seen 3 or 4, but now I have the collections though. But what I find interesting is like this House Party was pretty much like, I felt like every cast member of Martin's TV series was in this movie, which I thought was kind of cool. Kyle.
Well, this movie is pre-Martin. This movie actually really put Martin Lawrence on the map. Kid and Play were having a moment. They had several movies they did, and they had several hit records. I need to say this though. I think the original House Party is the best film. House Party 2 is fun. House Party 2 has the better soundtrack.
That's House Party 2, the Pajama Jam.
The Pajama Jammy Jam. Get it right. We don't talk about House Party 3 or House Party 4 or House Party that they just put out with LeBron James. We don't talk about those. But I mean, Kid and Play definitely were at a high moment here. I mean, they had a good about 3 or 4 year run between their music and movies that they were in. And they even had a animated TV show, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Lacey, your thoughts on House Party?
Okay, so I think Martin Lawrence was the funniest part of the movie. And the guy next door. The guy next door was hilarious. And John, I don't even know his name. The older man, the guy out the door yelling about how
wasn't he the guy that was one of the crazy parents in Boomerang, and he had the mushroom jacket.
The mushroom.
Yeah. I can't remember the actor's name, but I love him. He's so funny.
So he was fun, and then I thought Martin Lawrence was really fun. I think this movie gave him the personality for the Martin TV show.
Yeah, I think you're right.
His character everything funny about his character is stuff that happens to him, and it's not his fault. And no one pays attention to him. No one respects him.
Yeah.
Everybody basically hates him except for the fact that he has DJ equipment. So they
Yeah.
use him. Like his character, like that's just a crappy situation. And like, Chill Mitchell with his, bumping into the thing, and then when Play goes to pick up all of his stuff and then leaves.
Chill Mitchell, of course, was in
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, tons of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
This is one of Chill Mitchell's fun roles. But yeah, so I think that's where he got the character.
Gotcha.
But other than that, I find the film to be relatively unmemorable.
Gotcha. Kyle.
I have one other quick piece of trivia too. Director and writer Reginald Hudlin is actually very well known for writing one of the definitive runs of the Black Panther comic, which influenced a lot of things they did in the Ryan Coogler film.
Oh, very cool. Did not know that. All right. All right, guys. The next one is a comedy I was very interested in getting back to. I'll be honest with you, I've actually never seen it. I've only heard negative things about it. Was Joe versus the Volcano, made almost $40 million in his initial run. Of course, starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. They've done a few movies together. When a hypochondriac learns that he's dying, he accepts an offer to throw himself in a volcano at a tropical island, and along the way there learns to truly live. Directed by John Patrick Shanley. Of course, stars Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, and Lloyd Bridges. Kyle, go ahead and give us some trivia on Joe versus the Volcano.
Not only did Meg Ryan play all three female leads, but also did the voice of the flight attendant welcoming the flight to Los Angeles. This movie could have been very different because Julia Roberts auditioned for the female lead. I think she had much success for a movie later on in this month, but we'll get to that. The film, Kevin, you kind of talked about this. The film was a critical and financial failure on its theatrical release, as Warner Brothers, at a loss as to how to market the film, pitched it as a comedy. Fans of Hanks, still a comedic actor at the time, complained that the film just wasn't funny and the subject matter too dark to be a family movie. Despite the PG rating, it would find its feet a lot better when it was released on home video.
You know what's interesting was the Dan Hedaya character in the beginning of the film, where he plays his boss, and his job just sucks, and like everything's.
I'm not going to argue that with you. I'm not arguing that with you.
Exactly. He just kept saying the same thing over every single day. Oh, that was very funny. I actually found the movie kind of charming, to be honest with you. I thought Tom Hanks was just kind of like he's given up on life, and he's like, okay, I'll sacrifice myself. And then Meg Ryan playing a few different characters, and this was great too, especially one of the coworkers, and then someone else, and then the woman he falls for. I actually found it kind of charming. Lacey, what are your thoughts on Joe versus the Volcano?
I loved it. It was super cute. I left my copy upstairs. I'm very sad. I have it on Blu-ray. And I also have it on Blu-ray and DVD because you sent me the DVD, or you brought me the DVD. I can't remember. But it's super cute, super fun. I think that it's an existential black comedy. So if you're used to Tom Hanks in like drab, the first 15, 20 minutes he's just in a grumpy, bumpy mood. And so you sort of start seeing, once he gets into the guts of the movie, it's a fun ride after that. I do think that there are some things that are not politically correct nowadays.
Oh, it's an 80s film. You're going to get that.
Yeah,
it's a 90s film.
Right. Yeah. In regards to some of like the tribal stuff, there's some things we just probably shouldn't talk about. But other than that, I think it's a really fun, cute little movie.
Yeah. Kyle, your thoughts on Joe versus Volcano?
I think you guys kind of hit it on the head. It's got a little bit of cuteness to it, but it was just kind of, for me, one of those movies that was there. I actually saw this in the theater and walked out and like, okay, what did I just watch? And I think the biggest problem with it is, Lacey, you said it's a dark comedy with Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks and dark comedy, you don't associate those two things together. And I think that was one of the hardest parts for this. And like we said, they had no idea what to do with this movie. This movie was probably a movie that should have come out in a different time period and probably would have done infinitely better.
I don't think the concept of the Joe versus the Volcano, I just thought was kind of a dumb title, to be honest with you. I don't know if I would have written in that type of thing. A guy that, hates his job and wants to end it. I get that. But yeah, that was a little bit weird part, but I really did enjoy a lot of things more than I thought that I would, or that I remember, but I don't even remember. I might have seen parts of this, but I know I didn't see it in the theater. I know I didn't see it all the way through. So it was kind of nice to see it kind of for the first time. So yeah.
I definitely saw it in the theater. I enjoyed it. I gotta tell you, Meg Ryan is able to play 3 entirely different characters and not try and like mask her face.
Yeah.
She's a brunette, a redhead, and a blonde. And all 3 characters are so different. And just the voices.
Yeah.
There's actually one scene where like her redheaded self has to talk to the blonde. And it's so, I mean.
Yeah, it's very cute.
She's really talented.
Yeah.
Don't be wrong. We all know this. But I mean, back then I was like, who is that? She's really good.
All right, guys, let's get into the next one here. A good action movie, one of my favorite Rutger Hauer movies of all time, and that is Blind Fury. Made a little over $2 million in its initial run here, and I'll quote some stuff on the posters here. He's lucky he can't see what he's up against. Rutger Hauer, Blind Fury. He may be blind, but he don't need no dog. Rutger Hauer, Nick Parker, played by Rutger Hauer, is a Vietnam vet who is blinded during the war. He was found by one of the local tribes who taught him to enhance his remaining senses and to expertly wield a sword. On his return to the United States, he helps to rescue the son of a fellow soldier. Directed by Philip Noyce, stars Rutger Hauer, Terry O'Quinn, Brandon Call, Randall Tex Cobb, and Nick Cassavetes. Kyle, give us some trivia on Blind Fury, and Lacey, hold up your physical media there.
Rutger Hauer said of this movie on his official website, Blind Fury was one of the most difficult jobs for me because of the combination with the sword play. I'm glad it does not show. I mean, this was so difficult. Trained a month with a blind man who taught me his handicap. He was such a nice man. First thing he said was, I don't get confused about what I see. Then I trained every morning at 4:30 before shooting for those 7 weeks. Then Sho Kasugi was brought in for the sword play. This was an additional shoot for a week or so. Wonderful. Rutger Hauer learned how to use a sword and walk and move like a blind man with the help of a real blind judoka, Lynn Manning. According to Hauser's personal website, Manning was uncredited on this movie as a blindness technical advisor.
All right. Lacey, you are on mute there. First of all, hold up your physical media there and give us your thoughts on this film.
Okay, so this is a Kino Lorber release. It's not 4K, even though it's in black. It's a regular Blu-ray. This I got, it felt like the beginning of a really cool, like Daredevil-esque kind of situation, and it turned into meh. I just
not a fan of Blind Fury.
It was okay. It wasn't great. It's definitely of its time. There were some slurs that I didn't appreciate. It's just kind of like now Tex Cop. Like it was well acted, but I think the script was 2 different movies sort of slammed together. It felt very disjointed because the whole like Vietnam thing and then the whole learning thing. I think there was too much shoved into the front end of it.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're going to go save a kid now. What? Sorry. What? Okay.
Okay. Kyle, your thoughts on Blind Fury?
This is one of my favorite Rutger Hauer films. I love this film. It's so much fun. Kevin, there's one of the cable channels that used to do movies for guys who like movies. This is the epitome of that. I mean, this is one of those movies, and I know we'll talk about it a little later, but this is a 80s movie that came out in 1990. Let's be honest.
Yes.
But this is just a fun Rutger Hauer role, and I think he's great in it. And it's one of my go-to Rutger Hauer films.
What I liked about his sword was that it doubled as a cane, and so when it was inside its sheath, it looks like a walking cane. And I thought that was cool. He didn't have like a fancy like hilt. It just looked like an extension of his cane when he would showcase his thing. And by the way, Lacey, thanks to you giving me the idea of going out and buying those Blu-ray cases that hold 2 discs instead of 1.
Yep.
This is one of those things where I put that to use was I had the original DVD, and then I got the was it Kino Lorber you said?
Mm.
Yeah, I got the one with the slipcover that has the retro VHS on it. But then
Gotcha.
I replaced the Blu-ray on the inside, and now I have a Blu-ray and DVD double disc action on this, so I can get rid of the old DVD case. So
yeah, mine doesn't have the reversible insert. I think is yours the olive film version?
maybe, yeah. Mine's not reversible. It's not on the inside. So, but yeah, I love this movie, and one of my favorite scenes is in the film is when they're caught. They're in the back of the van, and they take his sword and throw it out the window, and he hears it land, and he asks the kid to count so that when he can go back and retrieve the sword by using the method that he used to count backwards, basically, to find out. I thought that was a really cool thing, and I love the bad guy, Randall Tex Cobb. He was really bad in this one. And Brandon Call, I remember that kid was like in almost everything during this time too. He was the go-to kid. But I think between this, Wanted Dead or Alive, and then Blade Runner are my favorite Rutger Hauer films, I think. What's your favorite Rutger Hauer film, Lacey? Because I know we talked last month about the movie you didn't like and I didn't like, the Salute of the Jugger or Blood of Heroes. What's your favorite Rutger Hauer film?
Lady Hawk.
Yes, good one.
Yeah,
he looked good in that one. Yeah. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get to the next film here, and this is Blue Steel. All right, Blue Steel. Oh, hold on a second here. Let me get out of the window here. Okay, Blue Steel, guys, and this movie made about under $8 million in the original theatrical run here. The poster says, for a rookie cop, there's one thing more dangerous than uncovering a killer's fantasy: becoming it. Jamie Lee Curtis, a rookie in a police force, must engage in a cat and mouse game with a pistol-wielding psychopath, a pistol that he steals from her, who becomes obsessed with her. Directed by Catherine Bigelow, written by Catherine Bigelow and Eric Red, and stars Jamie Lee Curtis, John Silver, and Clancy Brown. Lacey, hold up your Blu-ray copy there. And you actually inspired me, Lacey. I got mine in the mail yesterday. I had to go get mine too, because it also comes with a digital copy. And you're on mute, by the way.
Every time. We're just going to have to call that doing a Lacey. Sorry. Okay. This movie, I had never seen this before. I am now obsessed with this movie.
Interesting.
The commentary is insane. It's fantastic. It's a film historian named Alexandra Heller Nicholas. And it's fascinating. You have to listen to it. There are several other special features where they talk about, there's one well, I'll tell you. It's the phallic woman deconstructing Blue Steel with film historian Professor Jennifer Moorman, where she talks about feminism in the 90s and how just the fact that she's playing a cop and a female in a male dominated profession, and how they treat her in the film, and how this is a horror movie wrapped in the bow of being a police procedural. Yeah. And even the way it's cut, there's an editing, there's an interview with the editor that is absolutely fascinating. And there's an interview with, you have to watch all of the, this is one of those things where it's very rare that I'll recommend a Blu-ray to somebody and say, you have to watch all of the special features. This is one of them.
Interesting.
It's cool. Absolutely fantastic. And just the fact that, like, you don't even think about it, but halfway through, I'm starting to realize that her last name is Turner, and Clancy Brown's last name is Mann, and he's supposed to be the big, strong man. And the bad guy's last name is Hunt, and he's hunting her. Right. And he's trying to turn her, like, this is there, even the names. And this is Catherine Bigelow. Like, this is her very beginning of her career. And, of course, she went on to win Oscars and all this kind of stuff. And she always does, films that she maybe goes against the grain to get, right, or to create. And I love that about her. I think just it is interesting to watch from the standpoint that this came out in the 90s, and there is so much to uncut. Like, there should be a class at UCLA, like a 16-week class, and just talk about this movie for 16 weeks, because you could do it. It's amazing.
Good point. I'm a big fan of Catherine Bigelow too, and
Yeah.
she, of course, went on to win an Oscar. Kyle, before you give your thoughts, I know you got some trivia on this.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis plays a rookie cop. In real life, Jamie Lee Curtis was originally going to be a police officer before becoming an actress. Clancy Brown shadowed NYPD homicide detectives for 2 weeks. Jamie Lee Curtis also took part in several weeks at the NYPD Academy, including its firearms training. And then Jamie Lee Curtis also revealed that the original script asked her to do the gunfight scene en natural. It was written as a nude scene, but I said, no way was I going to run around with a gun in my hand in the nude. Everybody would be watching my breasts flopping around instead of watching the scene, Curtis said.
So what's interesting about this movie is I remember seeing it back in the 90s, but my wife likes this movie because she's a huge Clancy Brown fan. Well, as you guys, if you know my wife, she's got a big tattoo of Clancy Brown as a Kurgan on her arm. She'll watch anything Clancy Brown is in. Huge fan. She met him at the Highlander 30th anniversary premiere they had in Scotland, and she likes this movie for Clancy Brown because he actually plays he has kind of like a romantic lead role in it. And it's an unlikely part for him in that aspect. He normally doesn't play that character because he and Jamie Lee Curtis's character have a thing. And he's really good in it in that role. And I kind of wanted to see more of that role from him. But the character Ron Silver plays, he's the one that's there during the initial shootout at the liquor store, where she kills the liquor store holdup person, but he ends up. What's that?
Tom Sizemore.
Yes, but he ends up stealing her gun, and his character just seems to snap, and then he feels very powerful with it, and he just starts committing murder with it, and then stalking her, which I thought was done really well by Ron Silver. But Kyle, I want to get your thoughts on Blue Steel.
I saw this on home video the first time I saw it. It's a very good Jamie Lee Curtis performance. I think it's outstanding. It is creepy as hell. This movie is creepy because Ron Silver is just.
It does have a horror feel to it, like Lacey said. Yeah,
it's very the stalker aspect of it, and just how much he changes and how rapidly he changes. And I think that's a big part of it. And like Lacey said, a movie like this at this time and this early in the 90s, that's a big deal. I mean, this is a movie you probably truly wouldn't be made until at least 15, 20 years later, just as time has changed. So this was a big deal. This movie is I think it's a very underrated film in Jamie Lee Curtis's career.
Lacey, would you teach a class on this movie? Sounds like you would.
I would absolutely attend a class on this. I think I'd have to watch it about 30 more times before I would be comfortable teaching a class on it. But I would happily assign 30 different students, 30 different aspects of it, and read all kinds of papers. It really is a fascinating look at feminism in the 90s. There's a whole lot of there's genderqueer ideology. There's so much to look at. There's her parents. Her parents are in 3 scenes. You could do a whole class just on her parents and her history and what made her become a cop. There's so much in this film. It's and just watch and psychology of Ron Silver's character being in a shootout, watching a man go through the glass, being shot and murdered. And the bad guy's gun goes sliding across the floor and lands right here in front of his face. And all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna dip out the back door and steal this random maniac's gun, and then become a maniac myself, because why not? Hashtag I just lost my brains. And then there's a whole thing about the rape revenge film. That's a whole piece of it. There's so many things. We don't have time right now to
I know. I kind of feel like it's a cult classic too, because it doesn't get a lot of burn,
Yeah.
And it was better than I remember, and it was fun to watch it again with my wife. And I watched it again when you inspired me to get the Blu-ray because I wasn't going to. I'm like, you know what, I need to own this one, because it comes with the digital copy as well. Kyle, hold on. Kyle wants to say he's timing out.
No, I am going to take. I need to take Zach more time out before we jump to the next film, Kevin.
I have
very important.
Do you mean film or films?
Films. Lacey?
I was just going to say.
One last thought.
No, we just should put a trigger warning on this because there are some very graphic rape scenes, and there's so just if you're going to watch,
you're talking about Blue Steel, yes.
Yes, I'm just saying, like, before we move on, let's make sure that we're not leaving people completely unaware. So,
Kyle.
So, the Podcasting Society of America has informed me that before we move on with this podcast, the next section of this podcast is forbidden. You enter this section of this podcast at your own risk. I can say no more because it is forbidden. With that, Kevin, I'll let you move forward now.
All right. So here's a very interesting thing in movie history. And I remember when this happened. I remember when this was a craze, and we're talking about the lambada dance, otherwise known as the Forbidden Dance. And for those of you that don't remember, there was 2 movies that dropped on the same weekend that had something to do with the Forbidden Dance known as lambada. The first film is called The Forbidden Dance. It made about $1,700,000. Lambada made it a little bit more, a little over $4 million in its theatrical run here. And we have The Forbidden Dance, Lambada. It got any hotter, it wouldn't be dancing, featuring the hit song Lambada. And then we have Set the Night on Fire, Lambada, Go All the Way. So the Forbidden Dance was about a Brazilian princess tries to save the rainforest by introducing the world to electrifying exotic lambada. Now, this one here. Lacey, looks like you're holding up a copy as well, right here. Okay. Yep. And this is the one that stars, what's her name? Laura Herring.
Yeah.
And Richard Lynch is a villain, of course, and Sid Haig as well. He plays the Amazonian witch doctor guy, I guess. So that's this one right here. Okay. That one, Laura Herring, Jeff James, I think was the lead role, Barbara Brighton. Kyle, give us some trivia on this one first. The Forbidden Dance.
Well, originally the title of this film this is just my personal trivia. The original title of this film was actually Ferngully, The Forbidden Dance, because they were trying to save the rainforest. But to some actual trivia on this, the film was based on an idea writers John Platt and Roy Langston came up with while driving to producer Martin Golan's office. The script was commissioned in December of 1989, written in 10 days, in production by the end of January 1990, and hit theaters on March 17th, all in an attempt to beat Lambada to the theaters. Both films were released on the same day. The producers of Lambada successfully sued to have Lambada removed from this film's official title. Only this movie uses the song Lambada, which was an international sensation for a few weeks in 1990. I am so confused now.
Can you say Lambada one more time, Kyle?
Lambada!
All right. The other film called Lambada, not The Forbidden Dance, like I said, made over $4 million. Kevin Laird is a Beverly Hills school teacher by day and a mystery man by night. Here we go, right here. There it is. Using his lambada dance moves to first earn the kids' respect and acceptance, Kevin then teaches them academics. But when a jealous student exposes Kevin's double life, his 2 worlds collide, threatening his job and his reputation. Directed by Joel Silberg, starring J. Eddie Peck, Melora Hardin, and Adolfo Quiñone. Melora Hardin, by the way, for those that don't know, is famous for her role as Jan in The Office, was Michael Scott's boss and love interest. Very young in this. I think she was like 21 or 22. And Eddie Peck was, I think he's done most of his work on soap operas, if I remember correctly. So, yeah. Kyle, you have some trivia for Lambada.
I do have some trivia for Lambada. The trivia The trivia I have is this picture has often been called the better of the two of its lambada dance movie rival, The Forbidden Dance. Of course, it was a canon film. Come on, guys. The film featured on film critic Gene Siskel's list of guilty pleasures, although roundly trashed by nearly every major film critic in the USA. Siskel liked the movie and passionately defended it against Roger Ebert's intense criticism of the picture. You're telling me Roger Ebert didn't like this film? What? Are you kidding me? And according to Entertainment Weekly, the appearance of the low-budget quickies Lambada and The Forbidden Dance reflect the meaning of the two separate pop phenomena. The incredible success of the movie Dirty Dancing and the rise during the mid to late 80s of a powerful new wave of Latin-flavored mass culture.
I'm going to agree with one of those trivia points, okay? We have The Forbidden Dance, and we have Lambada. Lambada is the better of the two, just like they say, and I can confirm that. I just like the character. I think it had better acting, and it kind of had like a Stand By Me, Dangerous Minds vibe with the teacher being a cool teacher, but then he's like the sexy dancer at night, and Melora Hardin's one of the students that kind of like follows him and finds out, and you know she's attracted to him, but he can't because she's the student. And then, but then he ends up teaching the kids, the inter-school kids, how to pass the SAT, or not the SAT, but the GED, because a lot of them didn't graduate from high school. And then there's like a competition at the end of the movie where they are you know, they have to kind of, you know, prove what they've learned. And by the way, there was a certain, I'm going to say, fashion thing that happened in the 80s when it came to models and girlfriends, and a lot of, I'm going to say, rock star vixens that were models on a lot of videos where they wear the leather bra with the little studs on them. I have a picture with my wife with one of those. And Melora Hardin does that in this movie. I'm just going to say she pulls it off. So much better than the Fern Gully Forbidden Dance, as Kyle called it. I'm going to say that right now. But it was a phenomenon for a quick second. And the fact that two movies about the same thing were released the same weekend. Normally you get like Armageddon and Deep Impact maybe a week or two apart or something like that, you know. Lacey, what are your thoughts? Have you seen them both or just the one?
Okay, so I do not have the second one. I do have The Forbidden Dance, okay? Is Lambada, right? So okay, so many things to talk about this movie. Just to break it down, awful.
Yeah, make it quick.
So bad, so bad. First of all, they refer to a person from the Brazilian rainforest with the W word, with the B word, like words that I wouldn't use ever in my life, like words that you knew. Oh no, there's just wrong words when it comes to talking about Latin people. Okay, that being aside, then it's like slut and whore and all these and you're just like, wow, so not only is she the wrong color, she's also the wrong gender. And then the dancing, it's supposed to be like the sexiest dance alive or whatever, and all she does is like move her hips like this, and it was like, okay, like there was more sexy dancing in Dirty Dancing than there was in this movie.
I'm glad you brought that up real quickly. I just want to intercede real quick. Lambada does a lot better dancing.
That's cool. I am down with that. However, they also got the whitest man on the planet with no rhythm. And I think they did it on purpose. They got like the Aryan guy. He's the blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, he's the young whatever. Turns out that actor, Jeff James, after this went on to star with Ron Jeremy in Gangbang Girl 1 through 8.
So he goes to porn. All right.
He went to porn. He wasn't in the fifth one I checked. No, but no, it was just so many bad things. And then Kenny Johnson is in this. Kenny Johnson is the main bad guy. Kenny Johnson, the blonde guy from The Shield that everyone loves. He's been in The Shield and all these other shows, and he plays such a bad guy.
By the way, just so you know, Lambada also has Shabba-Doo in it from Breakin', you know.
Okay.
Yeah, and the music's a lot better too. I just want to throw it out there.
Awesome.
Kyle, have you seen any of these?
Okay.
I'm going to sum up my whole Forbidden Dance Lambada experience with this one statement. I watched both of these on the same night with a bunch of friends in high school when they came out on home video because it was the middle of winter. We had nothing better to do. Yeah, things might have happened. I won't go into that. But to sum up what the whole Lambada, the Forbidden Dance experience, we are not fulfilled on our Lambada, the Forbidden Dance experience until we get the 10-part Netflix docuseries Lambada, the Forbidden Dance, and explains how this whole phenomenon led up to this one magical day in Hollywood where these two movies came out on the same day.
Wait, are you saying that's a real thing?
No, it needs to happen.
It needs to happen.
Justify.
God, you got me all excited there, Kyle. Jeez.
I will say I'm going to order the other Lambada movie, and then when we do the canon stuff, I will have watched it by then.
Yeah, it's weird. They're both like the official one, I guess, is Lambada, but the other one had Mannheim also producing it or whatever. So yeah, they're like, let's get that out there and let's do that. All right, let's get to the next film here, guys. This one, I'm just gonna go say I did not need to revisit this film. I've been there before. I never was a fan of it. I don't know why. This is also a good book. The Lord of the Flies, $13 million in its original theatrical run. Stranded on an island, a group of schoolboys degenerate into savagery. Starring Balthazar Getty, Chris Firth, Daniel Pipley. Kyle, go ahead and give us a couple trivias there.
A few weeks before filming started, Balthazar Getty fell out of a tree and broke both his wrists on his arms. The director decided to write his injuries into the script and put the character Ralph's arm in a sling for half the film. Reportedly, the then young actor was in pain throughout the shoot. They were planning to curse a lot in this because the original final script had over 70 uses of the F word. The studio decided it would be cruel to make 12-year-olds swear against their parents' wishes and remove the excess use of the explicitive. I just want to say this, and this will be my thought on Lord of the Flies. I was forced to read the book and watch this in school because everybody thinks this is just this powerful. This is not something you should be watching in school, and I think it's forced. I think there's still schools that force kids to do this. This is a movie causes depression. This movie is sadistic. I mean, Balthazar Getty has an amazing performance in it, but this is a disturbing film. I understand the book and its literature history, but this is not something that needs to be shown in schools. This movie can have a very traumatic effect on people, and it's not.
I'm just going to say I chose not to rewatch this film because I will never watch this movie again. Lacey, your thoughts on Lord of the Flies? I noticed you have a Blu-ray copy of the film.
I do. I think this is an important movie. I think that it should be taught in school. I think that this is what happens. This is the Stanford prison experiment with no guidelines and no rules. This is what happens when people are left to their own devices with no.
Well, now we have the current one, which is Yellow Jackets for all women.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
But
I'm just saying that when you take, especially because these are prepubescent boys, right? So they are having a lot of testosterone happening all of a sudden. They're doing crazy things. They're killing and going after wild boars and accidental deaths and all these things. I think James Badge Dale, who you might remember from he played Jack Bauer's daughter's boyfriend in 24. First couple seasons, he was he was.
I got you now. I know he is. Yeah,
bad guy from Iron Man 3. Well, I know you know who he is. I'm talking podcast. But yeah, I think that he has an amazing performance in this. I think he's the one who lucked out because he was the earliest cast member to be killed off, so he didn't have to stay on that island for that long. The interviews, and there were no special features on the disc. But the interviews that I've seen with from Balthazar Getty over the years, it's just talking about kind of what happened. It was a rough shoot, and it was very. They left the kids to kind of form their own little groups and stuff, and it became problematic.
Yeah,
and I think that's what happens when you let men with no rules do things. It's an important thing to watch.
I don't want to make a big topic of it, but there's just so many books that we were forced to read as a kid that I don't think that we should have read, or, there just should have been more positive, family oriented.
Kevin froze up.
I think Kevin froze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, just to kind of.
There he is.
Kevin, you froze up a little bit, so repeat your thoughts.
Okay. I just want to finish saying I think we could have spent more time on more positive, friendly, family-friendly books than this, but maybe it made us Gen Xers skin thicker. So anyway, I want to move on unless you got something really important quickly to say.
Nope. Let's move it along. I feel like being on the run.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. The next one is the comedy Nuns on the Run, theatrical run of about $11 million. The poster says, "From now on, it's every nun for himself." Nuns on the Run. Two criminals who want out, but their bosses kill those leaving. When the men are ordered to rob the triad, they keep the money and hide from the boss. Triad and police at a convent dressed as nuns. Director Jonathan Lynn, writer Jonathan Lynn, stars Eric Idle, Robbie Coltrane. Kyle, give us some trivia on Nuns on the Run. Wait, yeah, Lacey, hold up your copy there. I want to see that.
Yeah. It was the breakthrough film role of actor comedian Hagrid.
Robbie Coltrane, yep, Hagrid.
First cinema movie directed by Jonathan Lynch in about 5 years. Lynch's last had been 1985's Clue. And it was one of two comedies where the two male lead characters impersonate members of the clergy, which launched within 3 months of each other in the USA. The movies are We Are No Angels, which debuted in December 1989 in the USA, where Robert De Niro and Sean Penn pretended to be priests, and Nuns on the Run, which opened stateside March 1990, where Eric Idle and Robbie Coltrane hit out dressed up as nuns.
Yes, Lacey.
Let's not forget that We're No Angels was a remake of a 1956 Bogart movie.
All right. I've never seen this.
By the way, fantastic.
Okay, cool. I've never seen this film. I remember it. I know who these guys are. Of course, a big fan of both for reasons. Lacey, have you seen Nuns on the Run? Obviously, you got the DVD.
Yes. Okay. Saw it when it came out. Saw it recently. Watched it again. It's so fun. Of the three, between this and We're No Angels, and let's face it, 2 years later we get Sister Act, which is legit the same story. This is probably I would say of the three, this comes in third. Now, the reason for that is because Sister Act had singing, and We're No Angels had Sean Penn being a complete idiot. So this is a more like thoughtful kind of thing. It's not as much a comedy as it is a gangster movie. It's a funny gangster movie, but it's not as funny as the other two.
Gotcha.
I will say that in the special features and the commentary, first of all, the commentary is hilarious. Jonathan Lynn talks about all the things. If you get a chance, you should listen to it. There is a 6-minute video featurette where they showed this movie to actual nuns and got their responses to it. So there is a 6-minute video of these little old ladies, white hair, glasses, just sitting there going, well, I would say, XYZ was realistic, but oh my goodness, I don't know about that.
Gotcha.
It's adorable.
I don't see this on DVD a lot, like around it. So the one you have, I think, is a hard one to find. But
is it?
Yeah, Kyle, what are your thoughts on Nuns on the Run? Have you seen it?
I have actually not seen it. I'm familiar with the film. I remember the advertising for the film, but just one I've never gotten around to.
Okay, all right.
Huh.
I do want to see it eventually. If I see it cheap somewhere or streaming, I'll definitely check it out. So yeah. All right. Next is a film that actually surprised me. It is the movie called The Ambulance. It stars Eric Roberts, James Earl Jones, Megan Gallagher, Janine Turner, and Red Buttons. Ambulance. You'll be in perfect health before you die. Josh Baker is a comic book artist, meets a very special woman, Cheryl, on the streets of New York City. Suddenly, she collapses and she's picked up by an ambulance. When Josh wants to visit her in the hospital, it appears she hasn't been admitted to the hospital. Josh follows Cheryl's roommate, and she disappears after a ride in the same ambulance. It's up to Josh to solve the secret behind the strange vehicle, directed by Larry Cohen. Also co-starring, as I mentioned, Janine Turner and Stan Lee. Guys, I ended up getting this on Blu-ray after I found it streaming somewhere. I can't remember, but it was streaming somewhere for free. But I ended up getting the Blu-ray because I was actually very surprised by it. And it's got the reversible cover on the inside, which is kind of cool too. What I love about this film is it actually has acting instead of a cameo appearance by Stan Lee, because Eric Roberts plays a comic book artist working at the Marvel offices in New York, and Stan Lee is basically his boss. And he is the one that gets involved in this very strange situation where this strange ambulance picks people up, but doesn't take them to the ambulance. And you find out that their bodies are used for some nefarious reasons. And it's up to him to find out. And he gets help with James Earl Jones, Janine Turner, young at this point, looking very pretty as well. She's one of the early victims that he has to try to help find. I thought it was a cool thing. It has a little horror twist to it, a little thriller. But I love seeing Eric Roberts in this play, the character he did. And I love seeing Stan Lee play himself and do some acting. Highly recommend it. Kyle, you have some trivia for us.
Yeah, Eric Roberts and James Earl Jones were, of course, also in the classic Best of the Best.
Yeah,
course,
buddy.
As you mentioned, this is Stan Lee in his first film role playing himself. And at the time this film was made, this is when Marvel and Stan Lee were desperately trying to get some of his Marvel characters made into movies, and really was striking out. But he didn't know was coming about 10 years later, or 20 years later, I should say. It was very frustrating for him. He had this deal with a producer to do a movie of Doctor Strange, and Larry Cohen was hired to write the script. He wrote the script for the movie, which never got made, but in the process, he became friends with Stan Lee. They started socializing and going out for dinner and going to each other's homes. Sometimes we would go out with Bob Kane, the creator of Batman. He had a great time with these guys. When Cohen made this film, he said to Stan, I think I'm going to make this character a cartoonist who works for Marvel. I asked him to play himself. He was really anxious to do it. It was the only time Stan had some real scenes to play in a movie and some real dialogue. In the Marvel pictures, he's mostly a walk-on or an extra. With me, he had a real character to play, even if it was the part of Stan Lee. We maintained our friendship over the years.
That was one of the things that I liked about it. Even though Stan was playing himself, he got to actually act and play a role in this. So I thought it was kind of interesting. Kyle, have you seen The Ambulance?
I have. This is a very fun little movie. This movie never actually went to theaters. It was a direct to video cassette and Laserdisc release. I remember.
Yep.
I remember this coming out while I was working in the video counter at the grocery store. But I have to admit, I mean, obviously, Stan Lee in the comic book angle was an angle for me, and I love James Earl Jones and Eric Roberts and Janine Turner. But one of the things that attracted me to this was there was an actor in this film by the name of Eric Braeden. Now, as kids, we're homesick. We always somehow managed to gravitate to one soap opera. My soap opera of choice when I was a kid homesick was The Young and the Restless. And Eric Braeden played the classic soap opera character, still to this day, Victor Newman on The Young and the Restless. So I was very intrigued to see Eric Braeden in something else besides The Young and the Restless.
All right. Lacey on mute. Have you seen this movie?
I saw it a million years ago. I do remember seeing this. I remember it scaring the ding dang out of me. I feel like I want to say that I was like babysitting or something, and I was like 16 or 17, and I remember just being like, all right, whatever's on, and having the TV on and having to go put the kids to bed and then coming back and being like, what is on this TV? I'm terrified. And then of course you're in a house that you're not familiar with, and it's like dead quiet because the kids are asleep. Yeah, I remember this traumatic, it was a traumatic situation. Now that we're talking about it though, I kind of want to go back and see if it's as scary as it was when I was 16 or 17, because I feel like I'm probably
yeah, it still has its tense, scary moments. Which is why I like it. I kind of had it was kind of have a horror thriller drama side thing going to it. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Check it out, especially watch it for Stan Lee. Rest in peace. So yeah. All right, next film I found interesting, guys, and I'm gonna how there's certain words and names you just have trouble saying. Well, we have The Fourth War, made just over $1 million in its original theatrical run. It stars Roy Scheider, and I'm going to play every Russian in every movie. Lacey, do you know how to say his name?
Jürgen Prochnow.
Jürgen Prochnow?
Close enough.
Okay. He was also, the villain in Beverly Hills Cop 2, and he always, plays like the Russian or the German or something like that. And this is two proud heroes with no one left to fight but each other. The Fourth War, a Cold War drama about two gung-ho border commanders, played by Roy and Jürgen, who carry out their own private war against each other on the German and Czechoslovakia border. Directed by John Frankenheimer, also co-starring Tim Reed. Kyle, give us some trivia on The Fourth War, please.
Yeah, the title The Fourth War is derived from a famous quote from Albert Einstein, which states, "I cannot predict how the Third World War shall be fought or with what. I can, however, predict that the Fourth World War shall be waged with sticks and stones." Similarly, the film's closing epilogue states, "I cannot predict what breed of weapons will be employed in the waging of the Third World War. What I can predict is that the Fourth World War shall be fought with sticks and stones." And though set in Eastern Europe on the border between Czechoslovakia and West Germany, the picture was actually shot in the province of Alberta in Canada, which doubled for the Eastern Bloc region of the environs of the German-Czechoslovakia border.
Anyone else seen this?
Nope.
Nope. It was streaming for free somewhere. I apologize, I don't remember because I searched for all of these. I almost bought it on DVD. I'm still considering getting it. It was very interesting. Roy Scheider was great in it. Jürgen was great in it. And they both kind of sneak over the border and mess with each other, and then things start to get serious. But what I like about the film, and I'm going to get a little spoilery here, is that it comes down to these two fighting fisticuffs after, shooting grenade launchers and guns at each other. And they end up fighting, on a frozen river, and each side has the Russians, one side has the Americans, and they just watch them like wallop each other. And then at the end of the movie, they realize, what the hell are they doing? And then the movie kind of ends and they stop fighting. And it was kind of a nice moment, but the tension up to it, both of these guys actually found the movie quite compelling. So recommend it. Check it out. The Fourth War. So.
Right on.
All right. Next, we have a little movie called Pretty Woman.
Never heard of it.
Woman. Yeah, never heard of it. You lie. Lacey's holding up the Blu-ray. I have a conundrum that I'm going to ask you guys after we go over our thoughts on this. I have two versions. I have the 10th anniversary edition, and I have the 15th anniversary version DVDs, and I'm not sure which one to keep. Lacey, you got the Blu-ray and DVD. Is that your custom version?
Yeah, that's my custom. The DVD in this is the 10th anniversary edition.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Pretty Woman made a lot of money, guys, and turned Julia Roberts into a superstar and resurrected Richard Gere's character even higher. Made over $432 million in its initial theatrical run. Edward, a rich entrepreneur, hires Vivian, a prostitute, to accompany him to a few social events. Trouble ensues when he falls in love with her, and they try to bridge the gap between their worlds. Directed by Gary Marshall, of course, stars Richard Gere, Julia Roberts, Jason Alexander, Laura San Giacomo, and the wonderful Hector Elizondo. Kyle, give us some trivia on Pretty Woman, please.
Yeah, Richard Gere and Julia Roberts had obvious chemistry upon their first meeting. However, Gere was not planning on taking the role. He was on the phone, ready to turn down the part when Roberts slid him a post-it note with the words, "Please say yes," written on it. He accepted the role right then. I will bet you bottom dollar she also flashed one of those classic Julia Roberts smiles at him that made him melt to take the role. Disney told Gary Marshall there was no money available in the budget for Hector Elizondo. So Gary paid his salary out of his own pocket. Eventually, Disney relented and repaid Gary the money. There should always be money for Hector Elizondo. I'm sorry,
Right.
period. Always.
Yes.
Always.
Always.
Lacey, I feel that you should read the next piece of trivia because I know I will butcher the pronunciation of this opera's name. Yes.
Oh, okay. The next trivia. Oh, okay. The opera Richard Gere takes Julia Roberts to is La Traviata, about a prostitute who falls in love with a wealthy man.
That sounds very familiar.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like that. But here's the big one, guys. The necklace that Vivian wears to the opera really cost $250,000. While filming, a security man from the jewelry store equipped with a gun was constantly standing behind the director.
This movie was a phenomenon, guys. Lacey, I want to start with you on this. I'm still trying to figure out which version of the DVDs to keep. I think I'm going to keep the 15th anniversary one because it has the blooper reel, and the 10th anniversary doesn't look like it does. At least it's not saying on the side of it. So anyway, your thoughts. Does the Blu-ray version have anything special on it?
Blu-ray version has the blooper reel live from the LA Rap Party, LA The Pretty Woman tour. It has the 1990 production featurette, which is on both the other discs. It has Wild Women Do music video performed by Natalie Cole, feature commentary, and the theatrical trailer.
Okay, so that's the 15th anniversary. I'm going to keep. I'm going to get rid of the 10th anniversary.
So, first of all, if you've never listened to a Gary Marshall commentary, I recommend you listen to all of them.
All of them.
So funny, and he's so adorable. And every time he's always like, if you like it, tell everybody. If you didn't like it, it's not my fault. Tell no one. And he's just this sweet man who just all these funny things. And it's so cute. All of the trivia that was read on here was stuff that I learned listening to the commentary. There's all kinds of other fun little nits and bits. He's really good at talking about commentaries during the commentaries. He's good at giving just enough information for filmmakers who want to learn a little bit about how to do things or how to make, maybe use certain camera angles or use certain tracks or different types of stuff like that. But he's also really good at keeping people who maybe aren't film buffs, film buffs as opposed to film students. And so he tells like fun little nuggets, and he's just really good about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. It's really fun. And I mean, he's this one, Princess Diaries 1 and 2, The Runaway Bride, like New Year's Eve, all of his movies, Valentine's Day, he's so good on his commentaries.
What are your thoughts on the movie?
Oh, the movie's fantastic. I mean, well, let's face it, it's a remake of
My Fair Lady.
Pygmalion is the original play. So you can't go wrong. I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I think that Julia Roberts did really well. The one thing about this movie that has annoyed me for, what are we looking, 35 years now?
Yep.
Yeah. The dress on the cover of this disc, it has a pink top and a black bottom. This does not appear in the movie. In the movie, she's wearing, it's the same dress, but it's a white top and a blue bottom.
Yeah.
The movie, this picture, the outfit she's wearing is not.
That's right.
The movie.
I've never noticed that before. So
it's
yeah,
not okay.
Okay.
Stop doing that. I can't stand it when people do that. Other than that, this is a 10. This is a movie that I can watch 100 times. If it's on, this is definitely a couch potato movie.
Okay.
Love it.
Kyle, your thoughts on Pretty Woman?
This was the phenomenon movie of 1990. This movie came out in March, and I remember it being in theaters through the end of summer, even into the fall. And I think it almost, if I remember correctly, some theaters even gave it a holiday re-release as well, because this movie was so big.
Because who doesn't need to learn about hookers at Christmas?
I know.
Well,
No, it's a hooker with a heart of gold. That's what it is. It's different.
That's right.
It's different.
Yeah. I mean, this movie is phenomenal. It's one of those near perfect movies, if not a perfect movie. The thing I always remember too is the cast is so good in it. I mean, Julia Roberts is every guy in America. She became America's sweetheart after this. Richard Gere, I had a lot of fun with a lot of ladies who were so in love with Richard Gere after this movie. I suggested they watch another Richard Gere film, which we covered earlier in Internal Affairs. They came back very angry at me after that. But I love Hector Elizondo in this, and Jason Alexander, the performance you love to hate, because he is pure slime in this movie, but he's so good at it. It's one of those times where it's like you respect the actor's ability to play that kind of character. But yeah, I mean, we could go into this movie for hours. You don't need to. Everybody knows about Pretty Woman. One of the all-time classic movies.
Lacey, one more thing.
I do have one more piece of trivia. In the film, she's struggling with the escargot, and it slips out and it flings off to the right, and a busboy or a guy in the background, a waiter, grabs it and says, "Don't worry, it happens all the time." That same actor was employed by Gary Marshall in The Princess Diaries to handle another situation where the character of the princess, the young princess, has a foible at the table and does the same thing.
Oh,
and
how funny.
It's just kind of a fun thing. He reuses a lot of the same actors, and I love that about him.
Well, I'm going to retire this copy. What's interesting about the DVD that I have here, real quick, let me show you guys, is that it's still sealed, by the way. Now, you may have seen this, Kyle. I don't know if you've, Lacey. Do you know what this is that I'm holding in my hand right here?
Yeah, I have seen that. I have seen it when it was much smaller.
This is about a 4.5, 5-inch diameter ball of all of the security tape wrapping around every DVD that had one. There's also some CD wrappings, the security things that go around the binder of it. And this one here of this pretty woman, I'm going to be taking off this and adding to the ball that is getting larger and larger. I've had this for a very long time, as you can imagine.
A lot of DVDs.
All right, love this movie. Yeah, it's definitely rewatchable. It's so endearing. Great soundtrack. I think they released 2 CDs of the soundtrack that all the songs on it. So yeah.
Go West, king of wishful thinking.
Yes. All right, guys. The next film here is Dana Carvey and Opportunity Knocks. The poster says Eddie Farrell's a con man. He's out of luck. He's out of time and out of money, but he'll be ready when opportunity knocks. In a world of cons, Eddie's a pro. 2 con men hide out in a house while the owner's away. One of them assumes the identity of the absent house sitter when the owner's relative comes to visit, only for further complications to set in. Of course, stars Dana Carvey, Robert Loggia, Todd Graff, and Julia Campbell. I only got one bit of trivia on this. I'll go ahead and read this. Filming during Dana Carvey's summer hiatus while on Saturday Night Live, Dana Carvey's first starring role in a movie. I had trouble finding this movie anywhere. Lacey, I can't believe you got was it the Blu-ray with the retro slipcover on it? You're on mute, by the way. Just
yes, it is.
I didn't know that existed. I found mine on a 4-movie collection marathon here with Cross of My Heart, Fierce Creatures, Splitting Hairs with Rick Moranis, and Opportunity Knocks on DVD.
Nice. This was a recent acquisition. Wow. It's getting late, y'all. I just said acquirement.
Too many syllables.
Yeah, this is recent. I want to say it was like $9.99, like on Amazon.
Okay.
Or something.
I just couldn't find it streaming anywhere, and I just happened to have that collection. I'm like, oh crap, I actually own this movie. So yeah. Not a fan of this movie, really, to be honest with you. I gave it a shot. I think this kind of reminds me of what was the James Belushi movie where he takes Charles Grodin's
business.
Yes, which I think is going to come up later. I think that movie did it better. Dana Carvey's just one of those guys that just couldn't find his movie role and make it sick. All he's ever going to be known movie-wise is Garth. He tried his TV series. It didn't go. He's just better at playing maybe characters in costume. I know we had a conversation about this, Kyle.
Yeah, we did. And see, my other problem with this movie, I think I've never actually watched this movie all the way through, but I have a problem because there's only one movie that exists that truly matters that uses any kind of form of the word opportunity in it, and that is Career Opportunities with Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
After that, I forget anything else that uses the word opportunity in it.
What did you wait? Hold on, Lacey. What did you hold up there for the camera?
I only note for this. It says Career Opportunities.
Yeah,
Career Opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree with you, Kevin. Dana Carvey is one of those guys. He's the better side man, the sidekick, the Garth to Wayne, things like that. We talked about it. I think part of the reason is that he's always in costume. He's always in character. It's in the stuff we like. So I just don't think we can get used to him not being in some kind of costume or character.
And the other thing too that bugged me is that he went to the well and did his George W. Bush impression, which he's been doing all the time on SNL. And I'm like, I was out. I'm checking out of Opportunity Knocks. I'm not going to watch it.
That's
again.
the reason I thought that's the one thing I was going to be like, the one thing we get out of this is that he did use, and they wrote it into the script that they used the president and his one like kind of golden nugget impression, because some of his impressions were good, but his George Bush was really good.
Yeah. But so, I didn't need to see it in Opportunity Knocks. So not a fan of it. All right, guys. Next film, I found out, there's a reason why Kyle and I are friends.
Yeah.
And
As your wife says, we share a brain.
We share a brain, yes. And that is the volleyball comedy drama movie Side Out. Did not make a lot of money in the theater. Made just $450,000, and that was some of my money because I did see this in the theater. And it's about a law student who comes to California for the summer and ends up playing professional volleyball. Stars C. Thomas Howell, Peter Horton, and Courtney Thorne Smith. Kyle, please give us some trivia on Side Out. And Lacey, let's show off our physical media. There you go.
Excuse me. I just needed a minute because I was having Side Out flashbacks. The movie Side Out's title is a volleyball phrase that means the team receiving the ball has won the play and earned the right to serve. John Stevenson, one of the most successful and respected pros in the game of beach volleyball, was the film's major consultant, volleyball technical advisor, and game choreographer, and trained both lead actors Peter Horton and C. Thomas Howell. Stevenson was a founding member of the Association of Volleyball Professionals and won 21 open titles. Kevin, I have many things I need to say about Side Out.
I wanted you to start, so you go, bro.
So this was a movie, I didn't see it in the theaters, but I found it on cable, and it became one of my most rewatchable HBO movies for a very long time.
Explain yourself.
Well, one, there's just something about this movie. I love C. Thomas Howell in this. Obviously, you have Peter Horton and Courtney Thorne Smith, at prime Courtney Thorne Smith. I also have to give a shout out to the other female lead in that, and Harley Jane Kozak, who is underrated, and Kathy Ireland,
the girlfriend of Peter Horton's character. Yeah.
Kathy Ireland is also in this film. But what was so great about it, the actual volleyball they played to was legitimate, because they had on this film playing the kind of the arch rival team, the superior team, were two of beach volleyball's most famous players at the time, in Randy Stoklos and St. John Smith, one of the greatest names ever. By the way,
St. John Smith, what a cool name! I remember that guy. He was wasn't he in the Olympics too? I think.
Oh yeah, they played in the Olympics. They won a gold medal, but they were also big because that's when MTV Sports was going on really big, and they were focused. Yeah, Gabrielle Reese and focused on beach volleyball. These guys were huge in the volleyball scene at the time. So there was actual legit volleyball going on in this. But this movie is just so much fun. There's just something about it that just pulls you in every time you watch it, and you can't. Once you start, you're pulled in, and you can't get away from it, Kevin.
Yep. Lacey, your thoughts on Side Out? Mute.
Okay, so basic general, like this, don't get me wrong, enjoyable movie. This is one of those ones that's kind of like it's kind of the sport movie genre that didn't take off, right? Because you've got all the ski movies, all the basketball movies, all that, but you don't really have a whole lot of volleyball especially beach volleyball movies. I feel like they were thinking that this was going to be like the start of something big, because they got Peter Horton, who at the time had just done
or was he doing 30 something at the time?
Just starting into 30 something, right? And then C. Thomas Howell had a couple of big movies at the time, obviously, Outsiders and some of the younger stuff with Tank and whatnot, but he, and he was in E.T. But then he had recently, I think, done Soul Man, which was a huge hit at the time. Don't get me wrong, not okay now, but a huge hit at the time. So this, I think, is the next piece of that. So they're kind of pushing it forward. It felt like the volleyball championship remake of the Michael J. Fox movie that I'm now blanking on the name.
Teen Wolf,
where he goes and his uncle puts him in business and he falls in love with Helen.
Oh, Secret of My Success.
Thank you.
That had volleyball in it?
No, I'm saying this is the volleyball version of that movie.
Oh, God. Okay, clarify that, please.
No, I mean, it just kind of feels like he went to work for his uncle, and then things went wrong, and so he decided to go do his own thing, and it's just weird. And I think that there had to have been a lot cut out, because there were several times where C. Thomas Howell would get really angry about things with no reason. There was no reason, unless there was cocaine. And we didn't see any of that.
I didn't pick up on that on my rewatch. I felt like the thing that might have been kind of cut out was more of the stuff with his job as doing the legal stuff, But Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, that was done. That was it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Living in California, beach volleyball is freaking huge. And we actually had a showcase here in Santa Barbara during the '84 Olympics where we had beach volleyball going on. And we have courts down there on the beach, and they're always full. People teach it. It's a thing. It is a phenomenon, at least here in California. And I know volleyball, non-sand version, is also very popular in throughout the world as well. It is, that's the reason why it's one of the biggest sports in the Olympics. And C. Thomas Howell, one of my favorite underrated roles of his, and I've been crushing, of course, on Courtney North Smith for a long time. And this was no exception. And then, of course, you had Kathy Ireland kind of sticking in there real quick, doing one of the legal assistants in there as well. Guilty pleasure for me, would you say, Kyle? It's a guilty pleasure.
Oh, this is a little more than a guilty pleasure. This is something. Yeah. This is a special guilty pleasure.
I was happy that it was released on the new Blu-ray with the VHS retro slipcover. So yeah, Lacey, one more thing.
Yeah, I would like to also say that they were a little bit repetitive in the fact that the main song they used for the volleyball scene was Playing with the Boys, which was famously used in Top Gun, while very much less clothed, very much bulkier, attractive men.
I think you were disappointed because Rick Rossovich was not in.
Yes. Yeah. So I was like, why are you doing this to us?
Well, we'll be revisiting Rick Rossovich later when we cover another film that he was in. So we'll get your Rick Rossovich fix in there for sure.
Sure.
All right, guys, we got one more movie. We had to save it for last. And also it was released at the end of March. It became a phenomenon, one of my favorites of all time. And that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first live action version, just made over $200 million and was one of the top movies for the entire year of 1994. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles emerged from the shadows to protect New York City from a gang of criminal ninjas. Through contact with the mysterious ooze, 4 turtles in the sewers of New York mutate into intelligent, pizza-loving humanoids and are mentored in the art of ninja combat by the wise rat Splinter. When the evil Shredder attempts to take over the world, the turtles set out to stop him. Directed by Steve Barron, of course, based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original comic series by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Stars Judith Hoag as April O'Neil, Elias Koteas as Casey Jones, James Sato as the Shredder, Kevin Clash as the voice, and we have Josh Pius as Raphael's voice, Brian Tochi as Leonardo's voice, Corey Feldman as Donatello's voice, Robbie Mist as Michelangelo's voice, and Sam Rockwell, young Sam Rockwell, is one of the lead head thugs of the teenagers. Kyle, give us some trivia on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and let's show off our physical media. Lacey.
Robin Williams, who was a big fan of the franchise, provided Judith Hoag with information regarding her character through his comic book collection. The two were co-starring in Cadillac Man when the Turtles film went into production. This was the highest-grossing independent film until the Blair Witch Project, having made $135 million in domestic box office and $66 million in the foreign box office. And sadly, this is the last theatrical film Jim Henson was associated with. He died about a month and a half after the film's release. Kevin, I need to go into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because this is an important film.
Yes.
The great thing about this film is that this came out before I really felt they had turned the Turtles too kid-friendly. This film, of the live-action films that have been made, and I'm talking strictly live-action, is the closest to the original comic book. It has an edge to it. It has a dark side to it. The Turtles, yes, they still have play up some of the stuff that you saw in the cartoon when it first started coming out, but they still paid a lot of attention to things from the comic book, which was incredibly important because I think they got a lot of the comic book diehard fans of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to come see this movie because of that, because there was a lot of fear that this was going to be a little bit too hokey and kiddie, and it wasn't. This movie has kid moments, but this is not fully a kid's movie. This is a great Turtles film. It is still my favorite of the Turtles films, and the technology used to make the turtle suits, still to this day, I feel actually holds up incredibly well.
Oh,
And
yeah, it does. Yeah.
I got to shout out both Judith Hogue, who I thought was brilliant as April O'Neil, and Elias Koteas as Casey Jones was brilliant casting.
Yeah. Yeah. Lacey, I know you're holding up the trilogy version there. I actually have that on the shelf. I
Nice.
love that one. I did the so what's funny is the original DVD was that cardboard flip case, that we don't like.
Yep.
I took the DVD out of that and I did the little Blu-ray DVD double, case there, and then I
Nice.
have the plastic version of the original cover as well that I like. Lacey, your thoughts on TMNT the movie?
I dug it. Let's face it, it was kind of a weird thing, and I was like, "Really, guys?" And everybody was like, "Yeah, you gotta go see. We're gonna go see it this weekend." Okay, fine, we'll see. Whatever. So much fun. Like so much fun. Love Elias Koteas. He's just amazing and awesome, and has since ended up in this huge career. Corey Feldman's got the voice situation for Donatello. I love the fact that the triple feature that I have, each of the discs is a pizza. So
I love that.
The first one is a pepperoni, and then the second one is veggie, and the third one is cheese.
Nice. That's great.
Kind of describes I feel like that kind of describes the three films.
Yeah.
Right? Like the first one is like a classic pepperoni pizza, good action, fun. The second one is the veggie pizza, which gives you a little bit more information, a little bit more like deep dive, kind of a more substantial pizza. And then the third one is just all cheese. And I love it. And it's still great. Because they go back in time with a magic wand, like thing. It's a thing. Anyway, yeah. So,
Okay.
and I love Sam Rockwell. Always, we'll watch him do anything. So yeah.
So I love this movie. It holds up. We've actually done a Couch Potato Fever a while ago. I think we did it with Alex, if I remember correctly.
I think Lee was part of that too, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the suits hold up so well. The characters, I feel like this movie did a good job of what the cartoon did to kind of give each of the turtles their characters, and they really kind of showcase this. My favorite is Michelangelo. My favorite scene in the film when he goes, fellow chucker, and he does a little nunchuck duel thing. But what's interesting about this film is that it had violence in it, and it upset a lot of parents. And we found out that that's the reason why in the second film, which got overshadowed by the ninja rap thing and that they don't use their weapons. They just use kung fu in that film and fighting because they didn't want them to use their weapons. And I'm actually a bigger fan of the third one because they return to using their weapons. I love the time travel aspect to it. Plus, Corey Feldman returns, and Elias Koteas also returns in that as well. And it's just a fun event. I feel people really crap on that one for some reason, and I actually like it better than the second one.
Well, that's
for
the
my
thing.
reasons.
It's a fun cheese. Like it's kind of like you don't expect it, but it's fun and it has a lot of fun stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like the pepperoni and the cheese are my two favorite pizzas, right?
And in this series too, there was time travel used, and they even returned to it in the Nickelodeon animated series that I bonded over with my daughter Camille. But I really enjoy these live action ones, and this first one, it still holds up, Kyle, just like you said. So yeah. All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. We have been discussing the movies of March of 1990, and I got to ask you guys the big question, as we always like to do. These movies were released in 1990, but filmed in 89 or earlier. Pick a couple. Which films felt like 80s and which ones felt like 90s? Who wants to go first?
I'll do
Kyle.
it. 80s is definitely Blind Fury.
Yes.
All the way. I think Side Out actually does feel kind of 80s too.
It does. Yeah.
As far as 90s go, I think House Party.
It's because of the fashion that carried over in the 90s that they wear in that movie. It feels very 90s. Yeah.
But I think 90s House Party is a good one. TMNT is a 90s film, and obviously Pretty Woman. Yeah.
Good call. Lacey, what about you? What feels 80s? What feels 90s?
Okay, for 80s, it's Opportunity Knocks, like those like triangle suits that he wears, like all the clothes are just insanely 90s. I mean 80s. And then Bad Influence. Like, I mean, it was the pinnacle of the nightclub clothes with so many pleats. Like there were so many pleats.
You're saying it feels 80s.
80s, yeah. Like yeah.
I was gonna say early 90s. It felt.
You think?
I don't know what. Yeah, because of the tone of the film. I think
No.
Yeah, maybe it was because James Spader was making the turn to a more of a not adult style roles, but more of a drama thing. I guess that's why I got the interesting take on that. Though
For me, it's just the pleats. Like there were so many pleats.
Yeah, gotcha.
All the pleats were used.
I would say Blue Steel feels 90s to me, definitely. The way that was done. Both the Lambada films feel 80s to me totally as well. The Ambulance feels 80s to me because we still got that weird long Eric Roberts hair that was a carryover from the ponytail style he was wearing with Best of the Best, Kyle. So yeah, so there we go. All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap things up. All right, quick final thoughts on March of 1990, Kyle.
Probably one of the biggest months of movies for this year. Obviously, I said this earlier, it gave us the film that transcended the year, which was Pretty Woman. But you look at the lineup, you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you have Hunt for Red October, you have cult classics.
Lacey holding up all of our physical media there. I love that.
You have cult classics like Blue Steel, you have Joe versus the Volcano. There's a mix of everything. This is one of those months that has something for everybody in it.
Yeah, definitely. Lacey, your final thoughts on 1990 March?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Exactly the same thing. You've got like weird island renegade people. You've got a house party with like an inner city vibe. You've got Bad Influence, which is like obviously the weird psychopath / drug thing. You've got Forbidden Dance, which has got the Brazilian thing. I think it's Brazil, right? And then Opportunity Not. You got some con men. You've got some volleyball. You got some turtle. Like there's something that you got the Hunt for Red October, like amazing espionage film, like spy stuff. I mean, and who doesn't love a good hooker with a heart of gold? Like this has something for everybody. There's a volcano.
Yeah. What I found interesting about this month is there's several movies here that became so big. They could have been a summer blockbuster. I mean, yeah, they carried over into summer, but you felt like they could have been released in June or July, like Pretty Woman, like Hunt for Red October. You feel like some of these were like, I can't believe they were released in March, but yeah, it was definitely a good month for movies. Well, the next one we'll be talking about is April of 1990, guys. We've got Johnny Depp and Crybaby. We got Wild Orchid. Was it Carrie Otis and Mickey Rourke. We got Miami Blues there with Fred Ward and Alec Baldwin. But we're also going to highlight some TV because we had some baller TV shows premiere in April of 1990. Twin Peaks, Wings, Living Color, just to name a few. A couple of other movies too. We got Crazy People, Ernest Goes to Jail, Q&A, and also the Working Girl TV series premiered as well. So make sure you guys check us out next time on Time Warp. This is the Fandom Podcast Network. Check us out, of course, at fpnet.podbean.com. Fandom Podcast Network is also on Blue Sky. Please check us out there. Please, if you're watching on the video on YouTube, give us some comments, share us out. Some subscriptions would help too. We'd appreciate that. Kyle, how can we find you, sir?
Well, I just want to say, as we get ready for the April Time Warp, I will be bringing us to the Z formation because homie don't play that. You can find me all over on our Facebook page for the Fandom Podcast Network and all the other great shows related to the Fandom Podcast Network on Facebook. You can find me on X at AKyleW. You can find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW. You can find me on Threads and Instagram at AKyleFandom, and you can also find me on Discord at AKyleW.
Great. Lacey, how can we find you? Definitely not on mute.
You can find me talking to a corner with no one able to hear me. No, I am on Discord, Blue Sky, and what's the other one? Letterboxd. Lacy Pants. That's me.
Awesome. You can find me, Kevin, on X, Instagram, Threads, Discord, and Letterboxd at Spartan_Phoenix, and on Blue Sky at Spartan Phoenix. If you want to support us, head over to TeePublic and get one of these cool Time Warp shirts that I'm wearing here. Of course, we've got logos from all of our other shows on the network, T-shirts, cups, hats, pillow cases. Make sure you support us there. We'd appreciate that. This, of course, is Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback show. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this month. Please join us next month, of course, for April. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Lacey and Kyle. Thank you very much. And until next time, we will see you back in time.